Hello, Movie Crusaders, and welcome to another special episode of the Movie Crusaders. My name is Sean Wasserkrug. With me, as always, is my co-star of the Weekend Crusaders, Brian Michaels. Guys, if you're following us, you just probably saw our very illuminating conversation of our most disappointing and worst films of 2021, where we were very pleasant. We spoke very highly of the movies that we hated, and
we kept it brief.
We kept it very, very brief. Very, very brief. But now we're talking about our most surprising and our best films of the year, which isn't this how it normally goes. The ones we hate, we talk about the most. The ones we love, we're like, yeah, it was great, and we move on. We're also going to flip the script on this episode, whereas on the most disappointing and worst films of the year, we did our worst films, and then our most disappointing. This time around, we're going to talk about our most surprising films of the year, and then go to our best films of the year. I will say this. And granted, you can say this about every year, but looking at my top 10, I would say my top 5 is like, yeah, that's about right. But like my 6 through 12, I'm like, man, if you would have told me that these were going to be in my top 10 of the years, I'd have been like, man, then this year really sucked. Because these are not movies that I would have expected. There are a lot of movies that are like in like the 10 to 30 range. And I'm like, oh, those movies probably would have been top 10s for me. But this year, I'm just like, I'm looking at this top 10. It's like, yeah, never would have guessed this is my top 10. Or even for the most part, my most surprising. This is probably to me my most shocking, most surprising list that I think I've ever made. What would you say yours is about on par with what you thought, or is it as surprising for you as it is for me?
For the surprising list?
And your best.
Well, my best of list is... I'm honestly not too shocked at any of the movies that made the list. I'm surprised at the placement of some of them. As far as my surprises list, it's a lot of it's just stuff that came out of nowhere or that I had low expectations for. So.
Hence the word surprising.
Yeah.
And like I said, for me, none of my surprises are in my top 10. I kind of made a point of not picking my surprises of films that were in my top 10. Granted, there are some top 10ers of mine that would have 100% been on my most surprised, but I tried to. Let's say I want to talk about as many movies as possible, so I made sure that none of my most surprising were in my top 10 films. Brian, you did not do that, right? So you have at least one or two.
No, I did not, because there were a couple of them that were just, even though they were in my tops, they were genuine surprises to me. I had to give them credit. So.
We're going to start with our most surprising. I'll go ahead and get the ball rolling because I know how much Brian loves this first film. This is my I have 2 honorable mentions for most surprising, just like Brian does. I'm going to go ahead and get my first 2. Both my honorable mentions are 2 favorites of Brian this year. So I'm sure he's going to have a lot to talk about with these 2 films. First one is Malignant. Brian hates this movie. I was shocked that it wasn't on our previous video. I was so shocked that it didn't rank in his worst films. But Malignant, this is one of those movies, like, I was watching it. And this was the funny experience. Because it was on HBO Max. So you and I were both watching it, but I think was I 30 minutes or 40 minutes ahead of you?
Something like that.
Oh, something like that. And I texted you and I was like, this Malignant movie, I was about an hour in. And I was like, this Malignant movie, I was like, it's not really, like, it's okay, but it's not really doing anything to like really hook me. And you're like, yeah, I just started, I'm like 20 minutes in, like I'm kind of in the same boat. And then as the movie's going and shit starts happening, it's more or less me going, what the fuck? Oh my God. And then knowing that I had to wait like 40 minutes for Brian to catch up and for his to go, what
the fuck?
So it was a very funny, unique experience. I always kind of wish we would have watched this one together because this movie, it's James Wan. You know, he did the Conjuring verse. He did, Insidious and all this kind of stuff. He's supposed, basically given the outside of Mike Flanagan the horror crown for horror directors. And this movie, I didn't really know much about it going into it. Like, first off, you had this incredibly weird opening to the film. And, that's like in the past. And then we follow the story of this main girl who's in an abusive relationship and this weird killer that she just seems to be linked to. And the killer moves really, really weird and awkwardly. I was like, why is that killer like kill this way? Like he's doing like this like weird stabbing motions. And stuff like that. It's like, what's going on? And then you get the big twist, the big reveal. And to me, this is where Brian and I splinter, because I think the twist heightens the film and actually makes the film better. And Brian thinks the twist completely ruins the film and makes the film worse. Which the big I don't even know if you want to like it's been out for a few months now, so I feel like anyone who's seen the movie knows what the twist is. But the big twist is when you find out that she basically has a Siamese it's not even a Siamese twin. It's like
an unborn conjoined twin.
Yeah, like fetus kind of thing. And like that's been controlling her, and like that's why it moves awkward, because it's her basically working backwards and shit. And then like the over the top, which to me felt very Sam Raimi, action sequence inside the police station, which I just thought worked so fucking well. And you hated it. That by the end of this movie, I was like, did I actually really like this movie? I think I did. I think I actually really liked this film because of the twist. Without this twist, no, this movie's bland. It's not that good, and it's just kind of eh. But that twist to me just like saved the whole fucking film. And it sticks with you. It sticks with. This is a movie that I will never forget.
When I was making my worst of list, this one was like on and off it a couple times, but it's really a movie that part of me wants to go back and revisit it, knowing now what I know, and watching it with a whole different mindset. And I honestly think I probably would enjoy it more, because I can look at it. Instead of trying to take it seriously, I kind of know where it's going.
Yeah.
But the other part of me goes, I don't want to watch this again. If anything, I might just fast forward to that part.
But if you fast forward, then you're missing the part.
Then I'm skipping all the stuff where you see it earlier on.
Yeah.
So it's the kind of thing where I took it off my worst list. I still am not going to say that I like the movie, but I think if I decide to give it a second chance, I will probably enjoy it more than I did.
This is one of those movies that he literally verbally attacked me for my score. Like I did my review, I did my score, and I put it out there, and then all of a sudden I get a message from him going, really? I forgot what I gave. I think it was like an 80 or 79 or something like that. He's like, you really gave Malignant an 80 or 79? You gave this movie and this movie and this movie lower scores than Malignant? Really? And I'm like, yeah. What is wrong with you? I never had Brian so mad at me for a review before. But yeah, it was because it did what it did. The twist surprised the hell out of me, to the point where it was one of those movies that's like, oh my god, have you guys checked out this fucking film? This movie's batshit crazy. And that's literally the definition of most surprising films. It doesn't necessarily mean it's one of my favorite films of the year, but it did exactly what it set out to do. It shocked the shit out of me, and I couldn't believe it. And I just had to talk to everybody about this movie because of how fucking nuts this reveal was. Because when you get the reveal, and you said like
and I will say, go and watch the spoiler review on that.
Oh, yeah, we did a spoiler.
Ended, and we're like, oh, we're doing this, right?
No, like we're so, like, because like Brian, he really doesn't like doing reviews. He really doesn't. But like once he got done with the movie, it was like, I don't care what you say. We are doing a video right now. We are doing a spoiler review. I don't care. We need to talk about this. So check that out. But that's why it is my number 7 most surprising film of the year. My number 6 is another film that Brian loves and is mad that I like it so much. And that's Zack Snyder's Justice League. This literally, and granted, we also did a spoiler review of this, and we did attack it. We attacked it quite a bit. We made fun of it for its over-the-top slow motion scenes that they could have taken out the slow motion out of this film, and the movie would have been an hour shorter. But compared to what the film was previously, this was a huge improvement. This was a huge step forward in what this film was to where it is now. And yes, it's got a ton of faults. I'm not going to defend those faults because we both attacked those faults. But even when we did the spoiler review, I was like, I really liked this new story. I liked this new twist. I liked the way they changed up the villain. I liked that they did this and this and this. We both actively did not like Cyborg's character arc. But there was a lot of new stuff in here that made me actually, I don't want to say respect, but really made me kind of go, well, if this was the initial movie that would have came out, I don't think Zack Snyder or even the DC world or DCU, whatever you want to call it, would have went through so much shit. Because this I think was actually, outside of the Zack Snyderisms of it, I think it was actually a really well done film. You hated it, I know that.
Well, honestly, I think that the original Justice League is pretty bad.
It's
And
just
then
bland and boring.
this version, I think that a lot of the changes that were made were for the better. They improved a lot of things in it. But then for every few things they did better, they take a giant step back, like adding the entire whole giant plot back in of Cyborg, the character you care least about and don't give a shit about, and they decide to make him the focus of the movie, and that just kind of killed any goodwill they made by all the other things they improved for me. But it is what it is.
Yeah. We're not going to touch too much. We had a really long spoiler review for
Again,
both.
go watch the other video if you want.
Exactly. What were your honorable mentions for most surprising?
For most surprising, I had two honorable mentions. The first one is a movie called Jolt. This is a movie that was on Amazon Prime. It stars the gorgeous Kate Beckinsale, and it's directed by the person who did a movie we both loved, Buffaloed, with Zoe Deutsch. She directed this. I think I described it as it's like Atomic Blonde mixed with Crank. It basically Kate Beckinsale gets to kind of do a whole action thing, besides the whole underworld stuff. She has to do action, but at the same time she's got like this. She has like rage control issues, and her this weird therapist is like basically created like this vest she wears or whatever that gives her electric shocks anytime she starts to get too fired up to kind of keep it on the down low, because and then if that malfunctions, then she starts kicking everybody's ass. And there's not a lot to this movie, honestly. That's basically that's the concept of the movie, kind of like Crank. It was just here's the concept. He has to get shocked and keep his heart rate up above this level, whatever, and that's the whole movie. That's really all there is to this movie. I mean, there's more going on in the plot, but that's about it. But Kate Beckinsale, obviously, like I said, always looks gorgeous. She gets some great fight scenes, get to kick some ass. It looks super stylish. I love the way this movie looks. And it was surprising for me just because it's a movie I never heard of. And I just watched it based purely on her and the director. And I really enjoyed it. It's not like best movie of the year material, but it's a lot of fun. I advise checking it out.
I think the reason why I didn't watch this because this has come out right around the same time Kate came out.
It came out shortly before Kate, yeah.
Yeah, and I watched Kate because of obviously Mary Elizabeth Winstead. And I remember you were just like, you should check out Jolt. I was like, I feel like I just watched a movie just like this, which granted your description, it's not the same.
You should still check it out anyway.
Yeah, I still haven't checked, but I think that was the reason why I didn't check it out because I was like, I just watched Kate. What was your other one? My other one
is a movie, again, on streaming. This is a movie that was on Hulu called Plan B, which it's essentially, this whole story is this girl has sex at a party and she thinks she might be pregnant and is trying to get the Plan B pill, the day after pill, so that she can not be pregnant. And it's basically just kind of, and she has like 24 hours to get it. That's what you're supposed to get within the next 24 hours. And so it's kind of like this adventure road trip kind of movie. It's very much in the vein of Booksmart.
Is this what's her name? It's like Haley Lee Richardson. Is this her movie?
No, it's two girls who I want to say one's like Indian, one's like Hispanic.
Okay. There's another movie with like a pregnant girl, and I think Haley Richardson's in it. And
this one, I mean, I will not say it's as good as Booksmart, but it definitely has that same kind of feel to it. The characters have the same feel. Kind of some of the adventures they get into along the way kind of has the same feel to it. It's actually directed by Natalie Morales, who I don't know if you guys know who she is. She's an actress who's been in. I know her mostly from a TV show called The Grinder with. But she was a voice in Spider-Verse. She was in Little Things. She was Stuber. In Stuber, she was Batista's sister. But anyway, but
I'm Pregnant. That's the movie I'm thinking about.
No,
which is also another kind of road trip pregnancy kind of thing. But
yeah, she directed this. I just think it's a lot of fun, and this one actually just made my list because it's one of those movies that, again, this happens a lot with the streaming movies I never heard of. Actually, even after this was released, I didn't hear about it when it came out. But a long time later, I stumbled across it, and it's like, wow, this is actually a pretty fun movie.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I was like, I don't think I ever saw the trailer for this movie.
Well,
Like, I mean,
it's Hulu. People don't. They don't, you don't see a lot of
yeah,
stuff.
I immediately thought of Unpregnant, which I think is another Hulu movie.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. How about we go with your 5? Because my 5 is kind of a loaded 5. So let's go with your 5.
Oh, okay. My 5. Hey, guess what? It's a streaming movie. This one is The Harder They Fall.
Wait, hold on. Here's a fun thing. All my surprisings are streaming movies.
I have 2 of mine that are not.
Okay. You go ahead and talk
Actually, 3
about
of mine.
You go ahead and talk about Harder They Fall because I'm going to be talking about that later.
Okay. Harder They Fall, again, a movie like I think I had heard just like in like, coming to Netflix kind of thing. I heard the title and heard it was a Western, and that's about all I knew about it.
And then
And
you
as I got
heard it from me.
closer, what's that?
Then you heard me talk about it.
Well, then I got closer to it, and I heard the cast of it, and I'm like, okay, it could be interesting. I'm curious to see where they go with this. And then it came out, and I don't think I was aware when it got released, but like that day or the next day, Sean was like raving about this movie, and so I'm like, I gotta check it out. And this is just, I went in with low expectations because I mean it's a straight to streaming movie, which can be very hit or miss. It's got a good cast, but especially in streaming movies, you never know where that's going to go. Good westerns are kind of hard to come by. There's a lot more bad ones than good ones, and even the cast of this, while it's got a great cast, like Jonathan Majors is kind of the main star of it. I didn't watch like any of the shows he's been in, and I had not. What's that?
Except for Loki.
Well, I don't think I'd seen that yet when this came out.
No, this was after Loki.
Was it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was after Loki.
Okay, so I saw him in an episode and a half of Loki.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Idris Elba, Regina King, Zazie Beetz, Delroy Lindo, Lakeith Stanfield. It's got this great cast assembled. It's very stylish. It's very unique in the way it tells a story. And actually, even like halfway into the movie, I'm like, I can't decide if I really like this or I don't. I never hated it, but I'm like, I'm not quite sure how I feel about this movie. But the more I watched, the more I kind of like let myself go into the kind of different style it has to it. I really enjoyed what they did with it. It was just a lot of fun, and so it surprised me. Snuck up on me.
My number 5, this one was kind of a journey for me because I went from like this movie has potential, but I really don't like it to that was an improvement, but there's still problems to holy crap, I can't believe this whole thing came together so perfectly. And by the end of it, and you were going to see this, but you didn't. And that is the Fear Street trilogy.
I never did get around to watching that.
Yeah, the Fear Street trilogy, like I said, my hope it's all 3 movies. Because it really is like you can't just watch one of them. Like it's basically 3 movies in one. I remember when they announced this thing, like as a kid, R.L. Stine, yeah, Goosebumps, Fear Street. I read all those books. I love those books. Goosebumps came out and it was kind of like, yeah, but Fear Street was more the teenagers book. Goosebumps was for the kids. Fear Street was for the teenagers. So when I heard they were going to do this 3 movie event, like every Friday for the next 3 weeks, they were going to come out with this movie. I was like, I'll check it out. I'm not excited for this. This is probably not going to be good. First movie came out, which was 1994, and it was really unique and good. It felt very Scream-like in a good way. There were just certain aspects of it that I wasn't necessarily a fan of, and like I said, we said this in the previous film. The 2 leads I was not fans of. I didn't really care about the 2 leads in the film. The supporting cast I really enjoyed. I really love the supporting cast, and I liked the killer. But the 2 leads I couldn't give a rat's ass about. They were not very likable characters. That and there's this town feud between like these 2 towns, and like everyone's rage is already at a 10 for this, which is like, why is everyone so fucking angry? Like it almost felt like Derry and It, where it was just like there was this evil that just made everyone just like at everybody. It was just like, but the acting wasn't that great. Like it was really, really bad acting in some scenes, but the horror aspects of it worked really, really well. So I was intrigued by the end of the film. And if you go back and watch my reviews, like a lot of the stuff that I was like, I had issues with, or things where I was like, they really didn't do much with this character, stuff like that. At the end of the first movie, gets everything I pretty much had problems with for the most part, pretty much got fixed by the end of the third film. The second film, which was was it 1978? I'm looking at the poster. 1978. That was more of like your Friday the 13th Jason type of film. I think once again, for the most part, it works really, really well. You do have some bad acting. You do have some, like I said, this growing hate between like these two towns. It really doesn't make sense. But the story, the main story around it, is really kind of working. And then I was really worried going into the third film because it was 1666 and it was going back to like, like Salem witch trials, stuff like that, which I'm not a big fan of those kind of films. It was kind of like, I'm not really into that. And granted, the first half of the film is that. It's good. It's not like great. And I kept saying through both my reviews of the first two films, like I really wish they'd go back to 1994 because I really want to go back to that story from the first film. And I really don't care about going back to the past because I already know what happens because they explained it in 1994 in the first film, what happened in these previous. So why are we going back and seeing these other movies? But you kind of found out that the shit you've been told is not exactly what really happened. So you're kind of developing more of the story. And then halfway through 1666, they go back to 1994, part 2. And as soon as they did that, I was like, yes, fuck yeah. And that last half is fucking awesome. It is so cool. And like you said, like everything that I had problems with with the first film, basically was like, well, that's because that wasn't the whole film. Here's the rest of the movie. Bam, right here. And you're just like, holy crap, everything that I had a problem with has just been immediately fixed. And then you, once again, just put them all three together as one movie. This thing fucking works. Like, at the end of it, I was like, bruh fucking oh. Like, you had me going through this roller coaster, like, it's got some good parts, but there's some really bad acting, and there's some things that don't work, too. I don't really care about the past shit, but it's good shit too. Holy crap, I can't believe you fucking just completely turned me around. And it's just one of those where it's like, yeah, I strongly recommend it. It's a good fucking little trilogy, and I cannot wait to see them do more with this because in hindsight, like it's one of those things like if you watch it, and especially for you, Brian, you're gonna watch that first movie, you're probably gonna be like me, like there's stuff in it that looks good, but there's a lot of stuff wrong with it. And I'm just gonna tell you, push through it. Just push through it, go through. Because when you get to the second half of the third film and everything comes around, you're like, holy fuck, okay, that's actually some really good shit. And at the end of the movie, you're like, hell yeah. So that's my number 5. Like I said, it's 3 movies in one, but Fear Street Trilogy really fucking worked for me. What was your number 4?
My number 4, Sean's gonna love. This is a movie I will say up front. It's not in any contendership for being like one of my best films of the year. I think it ranks in like my low 30s to high 40s for the year. But the reason it's on my most surprised list is because it probably would have been maybe the top of my least anticipated movie of the year list, and that is Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar. There it goes. And nothing I say is going to make him feel any better about it either. This is a movie that I expected to be just the worst pile of crap. And I saw the trailer for it. I'm like, this just looks stupid as hell. I have no interest in watching this movie. And I don't remember why I watched it. I think I got a hold of it and I'm like, you know what? Fine, I'll give it a chance. And it was so weird, so bizarre. I mean, if you've seen Kristen Wiig on SNL and stuff, you kind of know what to expect from her when she gets like creative freedom to do like whatever she wants. She gets kind of bizarre, but and it can be very hit and miss. More miss for me with Kristen Wiig when she does that kind of thing. But this one, I kind of respect its unabashed weirdness because it is so strange. I literally watched the movie saying out loud several times. I'm like, what the fuck? Because like it was very weird. Kind of in the way that I think in my review I compared it to like Will Forte movies like MacGruber, which that's not going to help his opinion either, or Brother Solomon, or even The Last Man on Earth. It's just it's very bizarre things going on, and but as a comedy, it kind of worked. And even at the end of the movie, I'm like, did I like this movie? I think I did. I'm like, but I respect it because it was so weird, and I will say I was not bored watching it. Jamie Dornan is hilarious in it. Damon Wayans Jr. is in it too. They got some good scenes in there. Um, but it's one of those movies that I think it's a ton of fun to watch. I'm still not sure if I'm laughing with it or at it, but I had a good time watching it. And while it's not going to be anywhere near my best of the year list, it was not nearly as shitty as I fully expected it to be. So by that mark, it's surprising. Sean has no comment. Next.
I would say there's never, ever, 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 ever gonna be a chance you're gonna get me to fucking watch this movie. But I also said that about Twilight. I also said that about 50 Shades of Grey, and then fucking movie trivia made me watch those movies. Oh my god, I have no interest in ever seeing that damn film.
If
And
Sean
you
returns to
will.
trivia, I'm going to make him watch that movie.
It's a Netflix film, or fuck, it's not a Netflix film. That means it could. Damn it, no. Oh god, this is gonna be Monty Python all over again. We're just gonna make it
It's
like
on Hulu now if you want to watch it.
no. I don't. I have no interest in watching that film. The trailer's enough for me to go never.
See,
Ever,
and I would have thought so too.
ever. No, I will never watch that film.
It's just bizarre. If you like bizarre and weird, then it's at least fun to watch.
No,
I don't know if it's good or not, but
I'm good.
okay.
Going to my number 4. My number 4 is a film that I remember seeing the trailer for it. I was like, oh, that looks intriguing. And then like it just disappeared and I never saw it again. And then it like all of a sudden like everyone started talking about it as like one of the best films of the year. And I didn't even realize it got released because it got dropped on Netflix. And I was like, okay, I forgot what the movie was. And then I saw the trailer. I was like, oh, it's that movie. And I was like, well, let me get a chance to watch it. And this was in my top 10 for the longest time. It finally dropped out near the end of the year, and that is Mitchell's versus the Machines. This was a film I remember seeing the trailer, and I was like, okay, cool. Like this actually looks kind of intriguing, but there's something in the animation or some weird things they're doing it that's like it's kind of holding me back. It's kind of making me go, I'm not gonna like this. But it had a pug in it, and you know me with pugs. I'm gonna check it out. That and even though the dad's voiced by the dad's voiced by I think Eastbound and Down. I'm blanking on his name.
Danny McBride?
Yeah, Danny McBride. He looks like a fat Mark Paul Gosselaar in the animated. Like he looks like basically a chubby Zach Morris with brown hair. But this movie, yes, is it weird? Totally. It's really, really weird. Speaking of a bizarre film. There's just weird choices they do with terms of like mixing live action with the animation. But this movie is basically, and I know this is not going to sell Brian on it because I know he's not necessarily a fan of it. It's like Goofy movie, but with an alien invasion or robot invasion or something like that. And it really, really works. Like the first 20 minutes of it, I'm just like, it's fine. Like I'm gonna finish it, but I'm not necessarily loving it. And then we get to a certain aspect of the film where two of these robots or aliens or whatever they kind of join the family and kind of are like their little drones. And then from then on, the movie just hits this gear and just kind of hits this zone where everything just works. And it's funny and it's got heart and it's enjoyable. And then you get to the crescendo of the third act in this moment, and I'll say it's like in the sky, which anyone see the trailers, you've seen a little glimpse of it in the trailers. I was just so happy, and just pleased with what I was watching, and just so enthralled with the characters, the story of this daughter and father who have been, I don't want to say estranged, but they've been at odds through most of the film. And they finally come together at this one moment at the end of the film. And everything hit beautifully for me at that moment. I really, really loved this film. And I went in ready to be jaded about it because everyone was talking about best animated film of the year, best this, best this. I was like, oh no, it's not going to be that. But then by the end of the movie, I'm like, fuck, that was actually a really good movie. I can't remember if you saw it or not.
I did. This is a movie that I was kind of looking forward to from when the first trailers dropped. It was called Connected. way back when, and then they decided, and then they ended up selling it to Netflix, so it wasn't going to open in theaters. It was going to go Netflix instead, and they changed the title of it, and
which is why I think I forgot about it because they changed the name. I was like, I don't know what this movie is.
Yeah, but my thing about the movie, this is one I honestly need to give a rewatch to because
I do too. I
only watched it the one time, and I think I remember it was the middle of the night and I was tired watching it. I enjoyed the movie very much. What I enjoyed about it was like the first third of the movie, with the family dynamics, when they're heading on their own trip, especially the father-daughter relationship. And then yes, at the end, the father-daughter relationship, that especially really hit very close to home with me because I have a daughter of my own, and you kind of, as you're getting older, the relationship isn't quite the same anymore. And so I loved that whole storyline. I think that the robot uprising, apocalypse, whatever you want to call it, that happens, I think that whole section of the movie, which is most of the second half of the movie, is kind of standard animated fare. It's fun, it's enjoyable, but it's not like, best movie of the year kind of thing. But I enjoyed the movie. I didn't rank it as highly as a lot of people, but again, I think that I might bump it up more on a second viewing. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
I've been wanting to rewatch it for a while, but because I've been so busy trying to get all these other movies watched and stuff that I just haven't been able to. But now that we got time on our hands, I might actually give it a rewatch here very shortly. What was your number 4?
My number 3 surprise.
Oh, 3.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier, it's a little film called Kate. So Kate is the other atomic blondish movie, if you want to call it, John Wickish, whatever you call it.
Girl being a badass film
with a woman. Yeah, it's this is Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who we're big fans of around here. Basically, as an assassin, she find out she's poisoned. Has is it 24 hours? I think
something like that. It's very Crank. It is very Crank because she has to keep doing.
24 hours to live, and she wants to find out, who basically has killed her, and take him out or whatever. Is it pretty standard action movie fare? Yes. Is it pretty predictable where it's going with the story? Absolutely, it is. Of course, it has the assassin kind of hooking up with like a young, in this case, a young girl, like protege. So that's been seen before in movies too. But the thing about it is, it's just the action in this movie is so well done. It's like parts of it are just so brutal and stuff. Mary Elizabeth Winstead has never gotten to do this kind of thing. She got to do some action scenes in like Birds of Prey, but far too few. I will say she was underused in that movie, and not nearly to the same level as here. I mean, she gets not only just with guns, but with knives and martial arts and all this kind of stuff. She gets to really show off that she can do these kind of roles. It is very much a John Wick-esque kind of action to it. It's very well done. I will say that there's like a scene in like a car. There's some really bad CG. So
it's so random, and
so the movie has its flaws. Yeah, it's like this movie isn't in my top 10 or anything, but I really enjoy this movie. And again, this is a movie I didn't even know existed. I think Sean told me he had remembered hearing about it, but I had not heard anything until one day I saw a trailer for it. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, it was one of those things where like a random Netflix trailer popped up, and there was like coming out in like next week or 2 weeks. You're like, oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, and I watched it, and I think I watched it twice in the first weekend it was out because I just really enjoyed it that much. So yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. I didn't love it, and the reason why I didn't love it was A, that really horrific car scene, and B, I could not stand the young teenager with her.
Again, an unlikable character.
Annoying as hell, and she really brought that movie down for me. You take her and that car chase scene out of it, this movie would have been ranked extremely high for me. You got, because it's Woody Harrelson's in it also, right?
Mm-hmm.
Woody Harrelson, like her, like not necessarily her father figure, but kind of like her boss,
her mentor.
It's just that girl so cringeworthy bad. I just couldn't stand it. But I enjoyed Kate for what it was. My number 3 is a movie that I remember seeing a trailer for, and once again, it's a Netflix film. Like, in Netflix, they come out with like fucking 18 trailers a week. So you watch one and you never see the movie again. You never hear about the movie again. This is one of those. I remember watching the trailer for it and going, okay, this is a kid's movie. But the one actress that I know in this is like, there's potential. And then I never really thought about it. And then it got down to that time of the year. And I was really just kind of looking for shit to watch. And I saw it. I was like, this is probably not going to be good, but let's check it out. and was just blown away by how much I enjoyed this film, and that's Night Books. This was a movie, like I said, it's basically kind of like this kid is he loves writing scary stories. Like he basically wants to be the next Stephen King, but because he's got this morbid kind of horror brain, he has no friends. And he has a birthday party and no one shows up because no one wants to hang out with the weird horror kid. And so he has this kind of meltdown where he decides he's going to throw away his books and all this kind of stuff. But in the process, he gets kidnapped by this witch. And this witch basically says, I want you to read me or write me a horror story every night. And if you don't, basically I'll kill you. And so he gets stuck in this apartment with this other girl, and she's got to cook and clean and do all this stuff, and he has to write these stories. The problem is that he has lost the will to write because of what happened to him, so he keeps using his old stories as he's trying to trick this witch and try to escape with the girl. Kristen Ritter plays the witch. I love Kristen Ritter. I think she's fun and unique, whether it be oh god, what was it? Don't Mess with the Bee in Department 23 or something like that, or Jessica Jones, or even Breaking Bad. I love her her personality, and her as this witch. It works. She's great. The kid actor, I'm blanking on his name. If there's a weak
Winslow Fegley.
Yeah, if there's a weak part in the film, it's him, and it's not that he's a bad actor. It's just he overacts when his character gets super emotional to the point where it's like, wow, this kid needs to cool his jets. Because he just really goes from like a 1 to a 10 really quick. Now, he did another movie later in the year called 8-Bit Christmas, which I think he did way better in that movie than in Night Books. But he's still really good in the movie. But it's just there's certain scenes where I'm like, this dude needs to pump the fucking brakes. The other girl in the movie who's the captor with him, I think she does a solid job. Why this movie's so good is there's a lot of surprisingly really good horror elements in this movie. It is made out to be a kid's film, but there was some scary imagery in this movie that would terrify kids. There's these little creatures like spiders, there's like these spiders with like skulls for faces that like attacks the kids in one room of the house, and then there's this other witch in the film as well. Like there's some really scary imagery in this film that I think really kept me hooked in the film, and I was just really intrigued by the story. Visually, everything looks awesome. I think everything looks great in the film. Even in the apartment, it just has this fantasticalness to it. And the journey that they go on, and like there's this mystery as well, and just the way it unravels, and then you find out where the actual main story of it goes. I just really, really enjoyed the film. I loved the story that it told. And I remember I watched this and I immediately messaged you. I was like, Brian, this movie was freaking great. And you're like, maybe I'll watch it. And then he never did. But yeah, this movie, I have been talking its praises, I think, since it came out in October. It's a really good movie. It exceeded all expectations. Like I was going in expecting to give it like a 5 or a 6, and I think I gave it like an 8 or almost a 9. It really exceeded my expectations. But Brian never saw it, so he has nothing to say about it.
I added to my watch list. I'll make sure and check it out at some point.
I mean, you're not going to like it nearly as much as me. I'm already telling you that right now. But
so that's the thing. Every time you recommend it to me, you'd follow it up with, but you're not going to like it that much.
Well, because every time I get super, super excited about a movie, you then watch it and you're like, it was fine. And I'm like, well,
it works both ways on that, though. It works both ways.
Yeah, it works both ways. But yeah, it's like, so I always am trying to like heed your expectations. Like, I really, really liked it. You'll probably won't. And then maybe you'll actually, no, I actually really, really like it. I'm like, yes. Because it sucks when I go, you're going to love this. You're like, yeah, it was fine. I was like, oh, I suck. kind of thing. So what was your number 2?
My number 2 biggest surprise of the year is Raya and the Last Dragon. Now, this is a surprise to me only because Disney movies have kind of, I won't say they haven't gotten bad, but they've kind of fallen into the thing where it's like it was the golden age, like Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and that was way back in the 90s. The 2000s were kind of weak. the 2010s they bounced back a little bit. They had Tangled and Frozen like that. But then it seems like they've kind of fallen into a little bit of a rut where kind of everything's very much the same. And so at least that's how I felt at the time. And so I wasn't really excited about this movie. I'm kind of like, it's Disney, so it'll be at least a certain level of quality and stuff, and it'll be good. But I wasn't interested in the story. I didn't think I was interested in the character. Even saw the first trailer. I'm like, okay, it'll be decent to watch. And I went and saw this movie, and I was blown away by this. This is one of, if not the best animated films of the year. I mean, first of all, from a pure animation standpoint, this is some of the most beautiful animation I have ever seen in a movie. I mean, there are scenes where if you took out the like character like Raya, or whoever the clearly cartoon or exaggerated characters, I would think these were real backgrounds. From the leaves on the trees to the texture of the stone on the wall to whatever. It's just so much of this stuff just looks so real. It's got beautiful animation. Um, for the characters are tons of fun. I loved the relationship between Raya and her father, as well as between Raya and kind of her, I don't know, the antagonist, kind of the other girl who's going for the
Hmm.
for the whatever they were. Sorry, I'm just blanking out on things here. Um, but I think the music in it's amazing. It's just from top to bottom, pretty much every aspect of this movie just kind of blew me away. And while it's not gonna be like my number one film of the year, but it's from going from just kind of expecting, it'll be a pretty good movie to what I got and just loving this movie. It was one of my biggest surprises, most pleasant surprises, definitely of the year.
I'm going to be talking about this movie later, so I'm going to hold off.
Okay.
Because this is definitely in my top 10. So this will be talked about in a little bit. My number 2 is a movie that I was just so excited for going into it. That is the movie as good as I think it is? Probably not. But I was just so amped for this movie that like it couldn't fail. And that was Gunpowder Milkshake. I love Karen Gillan. I have loved her since she was on Doctor Who as Amy Pond, and then of course now she's, Nebula and Guardians. So getting to see her in a action film, being a badass, and not having to be dressed like Nebula, and actually being able to see Karen Gillan to me is a huge bonus point. The cast in this, you got Paul Giamatti, you got Carla Gugino, who we're big fans of, and here you got Angela Bassett, you got I'm blanking on her name. Help me out here.
Michelle Yeoh. I don't know who.
Yes, Michelle Yeoh. Like it's got a great female cast. This is now our third female badass movie that we're talking about here. Just in most surprise. I love the visuals. I love the way it's shot, the color palette of this film. I really enjoy that. The young actress that she's protecting in this film, I actually liked her in last year's is it My Spy with Dave Bautista. The movie, My Spy itself is okay at best, but I think her performance in it was really good. She's great in this as well. The action sequences I think are shot really well. The choreography of the fighting is done. There's one particular moment where Karen Gillan was fighting these henchmen in a bowling alley, and just the way the neon is hitting, I think visually it looks great. I really, really enjoyed this film. It was, to me, it was basically a female John Wick, because it's got like how John Wick has like the Continental, they have the library in this, and I just loved the library and what it entailed, and all the stuff in it that I wanted more of this movie, or at least the I want more movies like this with these in this world. I really, really enjoyed this film. I know you watched it, you didn't like it nearly as much as I did, but once again, with the cast and the way this film was, it was very, very hard for me to get disappointed with this movie.
This is a movie I thought, I actually went into really anticipating, and I didn't dislike the movie, but it wasn't what I wanted. Like for instance, I think Kate and to some extent Jolt were the movie that I hoped this would be. While obviously, like I said, Kate does have some things. It's not a perfect movie. There are definitely some couple flaws in it. Um, this one I thought kind of had enough drawbacks that it kind of held me back from really loving it. Because I mean, yes, there are some the action scenes really kind of for me range from like really good and really very well executed to some that are just really bland and really stiff, and it just feels choreographed to it. Um, I like all the actresses in it. I think Karen Gillan is the least talented actress. I think I didn't find her very convincing through a lot of the movie. I didn't believe her trying to act like a badass. It just felt like Karen Gillan trying to act like a badass. So I mean, I didn't hate the movie. It just wasn't everything I had hoped it would be. I also am surprised because I know you've said this about other movies. One problem I had with the movie is the whole message of the movie basically is all women good, all men bad. And I hate movies that are just like all men have to be assholes or jerks. And it's like, come on, let's.
Yes, but not in terms of like when I talk about that, it's like every man is like a rapist, kind of like Wonder Woman 1984 kind of thing, where it's like every man is a pig who's gonna basically just try to rape a girl. Like that's not the case. That's not great that all the men here want to kill her, but she also kind of started it at the same time. But yeah, what was your number 2, or is this your number 1?
My number 1.
Yeah.
My number 1 biggest surprise. I'm just gonna say we're gonna talk about it more later. It's Spider-Man, No Way Home, and Sean could not be happier that it's my biggest surprise of the year.
And it's not in mine because I already knew what it was gonna be.
Yeah, well, that's just it. Is I was looking at my most anticipated list, and it was
my number 1, I think.
I think I just lost it. I want to say it was like my number 12 most anticipated movie of the year of 2021. Here it is. It was, in fact, my number 12 most anticipated movie of the year because it's like, it's MCU, it's Tom Holland, it's Spider-Man. So I'm going to enjoy it to a certain extent, but I'm like, the whole multiverse crap. Do we really have to bring in Tobey Maguire, who I really didn't like, and Andrew Garfield, who I liked, but let's move on. Let's not mix universes, all this kind of thing. And I really, really, really like this movie, and that's all I'll say because we're going to talk about it later.
Oh, we're definitely talking about that, and it was my most anticipated last year.
Yeah.
My number 1. This was a movie that Brian told me, I can't wait for you to watch this movie. I'm so excited for you to watch this movie. I saw this movie, it was like 4 or 5 months earlier.
Oh, okay.
See it special, and you're like, it comes out next year. You're gonna love this movie. I can't wait for you to see it. And I was like, okay. Because sometimes he says that, and I'm just like, yeah, kind of like how me telling him like, you're probably not gonna like it as much as I did. Like same thing. I was like, all right, we'll see what it is. And then I watched it, and I was like, oh my god, this movie's fucking amazing, and I loved it. And that is Boss Level. Boss Level is so much fucking fun. I had a blast watching this movie. I enjoy this movie so damn much. Frank Grillo, I feel like this guy can do anything. And he's just kind of always used as like a C-level actor in a lot of movies. Mel Gibson is the villain. I think he's probably the one negative, though, is he doesn't get utilized as much in the movie as he should have. But this whole like video game, like Groundhog Day kind of story aesthetic, I think works immensely. It is so much fun. The action is solid. It's got great humor in it. This movie just kicks so much ass. And I have been talking about this movie since, was it March when it came out on Hulu? I think it was March.
It was early. It was somewhere in the early part of the year.
And I have been talking, anytime someone goes like, hey, Sean, what do you recommend movies? Like, what do you have? Oh, I have Hulu. Boss Level. Like, I mean, like that is immediately what it says. So if they say they have Hulu, I say you need to check out Boss Level because Boss Level is badass. It fell out of my top 10 just because other movies, just in terms of what a movie is, just better. But this is going to be one of those movies that I'm just going to go back and revisit over and over and over again. And Brian is the lucky son of a bitch who got to see it like 6 months earlier. And he had been talking about this movie. And every time he bring it up, I'd be like, what's that movie again? Like, I forgot what it is. And I finally got to see it. And I was like, holy crap, Brian, you were 100% correct. That movie was fucking awesome.
Yeah. I knew that'd be right up your alley. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So that was our most surprising. We're going to be moving on now to our top 10 best films of the year. We got some honorable mentions, obviously. I'll go ahead and knock out my honorable mentions first. Number 12, I think, was my first film I saw this year. And it still managed to stay relatively near the top 10, and that is One Night in Miami. It was Regina King's very first directorial debut, and it's basically it's based off a play, but it's basically about one night in Miami with Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, Malcolm X, and I'm blanking on the singer.
Sam Cooke.
Sam Cooke, yeah. Basically, they're all hanging out. They're friends, and they're all hanging out one night. It's about them talking about kind of like the world of that time, and them kind of having debates and stuff like that, which does not sound super entertaining by any means. But the reason why it's such a great film is the performance of these four actors. You've got I think it's Eli Goree, I think is the actor's name. I'm pulling him up right now. Who is Muhammad Ali? This kid, yeah, Eli Goree. He puts on almost a damn near perfection performance as Muhammad Ali. Yes, we have gotten an Ali movie with Will Smith. This kid looks like Ali. He has the mannerisms down. He's got the voice down. I was entranced with his performance of Muhammad Ali that I almost wish they would go back and remake the movie Ali with this kid. I need to see this kid more as Ali. That is how amazing his performance was in this. Kingsley Ben-Adir was also great as Malcolm X. Aldous Hodge was great as Jim Brown. Leslie Odom Jr. from Hamilton is Sam Cooke. He's got a fantastic song he sings at the end of this film. This movie, I believe, was up for nominations during this past year's Oscars, but I didn't get to see it until January. It's just so incredibly well done. The performances, the monologues, the dialogues between these characters is great. And it's one of, like I said, first film of the year, and for me, it stayed almost in the top 10 all the way to the very end of the year. My number 11 is we've talked about in the last episode and this episode. We're definitely going to get all the MCU covered in this, because my number 11 is Shang-Chi, The Legend of the Ten Rings. This was a movie like Eternals, was not excited for at all. I had no anticipation for this film. In fact, I think even watching the trailers, I was less excited for it, mainly because it was Awkwafina. And this is going to be kind of a running trend with this, is I feel like they never make Awkwafina marketable or entertaining in any trailers she's ever in, whether it be Crazy Rich Asians or Raya and the Last Dragon or this. When they always choose to pick her trying to say some quirky comedy line, it just comes off cringy.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where it's like, oh god, this movie's gonna suck because Awkwafina's in it. And this movie, for some reason, works so well for me. I don't want to say it's grounded, because it's not, because it's fucking dragons and shit in this movie. But I really enjoyed this film. I loved the character of Shang-Chi. I didn't think I would ever say that, but I really enjoyed that. I really actually enjoyed Awkwafina in the film. I love that they finally fixed Iron Man 3 in this movie by actually saying, hey, you want to know who the actual real Mandarin is? Here's the fucking real Mandarin. And then also bringing in Trevor Slattery as well. And it was also a beautiful touch. A lot of people have a problem with the third act battle, but I actually thought that looked gorgeous. I loved that final battle sequence. I know it's very MCU, but you know what? I fucking love the MCU, so I don't care. I really enjoyed this film. Is one of those, like I said, least expected, least anticipated of the MCU, but ended up being one of my favorite MCU films. Obviously, it's not my favorite, because we all know what my favorite MCU movie of the year is. But in connection to the Eternals, it is leaps and fucking bounds better than the Eternals. But yeah, Shang-Chi just outside of my top 10. What were your two anticipated?
Well, my number 12, best of 2021, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you said most anticipated.
Or I said, yeah. It's fucking 4:30 in the morning. Let it go.
So my honorable mentions, at number 12, I had Shang-Chi, actually. So this is like you. I had no interest in it. I didn't know anything about the character. I saw the trailers for it. I'm kind of like, it's MCU, so I'll see it. But whatever. Awkwafina doesn't help. I went and saw it. I really enjoyed this movie, a lot more than I thought I would. I think that a lot of it works. Not everything in it works for me, but a lot of it does. I think that the story and the character worked very well. I will say that the third act, it's strange the way you phrased it because I thought it felt very un-MCU, just because the third act battle is part I didn't like, but not because it felt like an MCU, but because it leaned so hard into the fantasy side of it with the dragons and things that I'm not a big fan. And it's not a criticism of the movie. It's just that fantasy kind of thing is not my kind of thing. Like I've never enjoyed like the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon where they're floating in the air and doing martial arts thing. It's just the fantasy side of like martial arts and stuff I don't get into. And so I did not like the final battle as much, but I didn't think it hurt the movie.
Would
And
you
I
rather
really,
have dragons or celestials?
yeah, and but then the early fights in the movie, whether it be the bus fight or the one on the scaffolding and then kind of inside the building and stuff like that, some of those action scenes are so well done that just it really impressed me. And so this made a
And
for me.
and I remember you saying you were not excited for this film because you thought the actor who plays Shang-Chi
Simu Liu, I think,
it has no charisma.
is kind of bland and non-charismatic. And honestly, having seen the movie, to an extent, I still stand by that. I think he comes across a little bit bland, but for the most part, it
He's
worked.
fine in it. I enjoyed him in the movie.
My other honorable mention at number 11, I film we're going to talk about later, was The Harder They Fall, which I've already talked about my thoughts on it. So,
Yeah, we're definitely gonna be talking about it later.
yeah.
My number 10 is a movie that I had no interest in seeing. I wasn't going to see, but it was one of those things kind of like with Mitchell's and the Machines, where everyone kept talking about it. I was like, well, I had to fucking find this movie and see, what I think of it. And it's Pig. Nicolas Cage's Pig. Yeah, if you would have told me that a movie about a truffle pig and Nicolas Cage trying to find it would be in my top 10,
Of all the Nicolas Cage movies we talked about, that's the one you would have never thought would be in the top.
Yeah, it was because here's the thing: is you watch the trailer for Pig, and you think, oh, it's Nicolas Cage's John Wick.
They took
Keanu
my pig
Reeves,
and we kicked their ass.
dog. Yeah, exactly. You think that's what it's gonna be. It's like they stole my pig. I want him back. That is, I mean, yes, that is 100% what it is. They take his pig. He wants it back. But it's not this action badass film where he goes out. No, it's actually a very methodical drama of him. Like he's got this I'm trying to think of the word. It's late, so my brain's not working as well as I thought. He's got this reputation, Nicolas Cage's character does, that he feels like this looming, scary character, but it's not that. It's a respect for his craft and how amazing he is at what he does, which is a chef. And something happened to him in his life that he kind of went into reclusion, and his only connection really to any kind of like relationship is this pig. And then you've got oh god, I'm blanking on the kid's name. Who's
Alex Wolff?
Alex Wolff. Yeah, Alex Wolff is kind of like his only connection really to the outside world, because he's the guy who goes and kind of picks up the the truffles and all that kind of stuff. He helps him along this journey. And Alex Wolff's character at the beginning of the film is this annoying twerp that you don't like, but then as the film grows, you start to develop more of his character and start understanding his character, and you start to actually like his character to a point. And then this journey that Nicolas Cage goes on, it's like I said, I bashed Willy's Wonderland in our last episode because he doesn't speak at all in this film. He's kind of a little bit in this. He actually has lines in this movie, but he chooses his word. Nicolas Cage chooses his words wisely. Doesn't overtly talk more than he needs to. He just has this presence. And as they go on this journey, you're just developing more and more this relationship between Nick Cage and Alex Wolff. And it doesn't have the expected ending that you think it's going to have, but I feel like it's powerful. It was a very powerful film, very well acted, very well directed, very well written, and I was blown away by it. It really took me by surprise, and it's not my most surprising because I just really want to talk about those movies because, like I said, I didn't want any of my top 10 being in my most surprised. This definitely would be in there. Like I said, I wanted to make a choice of not having them be in my most surprising, but Pig definitely is my number 10 movie.
Yeah.
And did you ever see it? I can't remember if you ever saw it.
I did see it, and Pig's a weird one because I heard everybody talking about what a great movie this was, and for me that was a good and a bad thing because I would have never watched this movie if I hadn't heard such good things about it. Because it's like another Nicolas Cage straight to VOD kind of thing.
Yeah.
At least on me, it didn't hit theaters. But at the same time, I think it got overhyped to me because I watched it and like it was good, but people were like raving about it like one of the best movies of the year, and I'm kind of like, I can't go that far with it. So I mean, I enjoyed the movie. I think Nicolas Cage is very good in it, but it just wouldn't have cracked my top list.
What was your number 10?
Well, I'm going to give it two before I get into my top 10. I'm going to give 2 disclaimers, as I do every year on this kind of list. One, my list is going to look very different than a lot of you people. These are not what I think are the technical best movies of the year. There are things that are more important and more dramatic, and maybe even better acting performances. These are my favorite movies of the year. So it's going to be just my personal feelings, my opinions. A lot of things you expect to be on there are not going to be on there. Things you don't expect to be on there will be. The other disclaimer, Sean and I, like I said, we use some different rules. Like he didn't want to include, stuff on both of his lists. Also, he, like with One Night in Miami, went on movies that were he saw this year, even though technically they were Oscar eligible for the previous year.
It didn't get released until January. We had this discussion with One Night
It
in Miami.
did get released in some places in time for Oscars, so it's technically a 2020 film. But that's what I'm saying. I'm just explaining my different rules. The reason I wanted to mention that is because this is my top 10 of what I have seen so far. There are still several movies I have not seen, 2 of which have a chance at my top 10. One being Tragedy of Macbeth, and the other being Cyrano, which are both eligible for 2021, but I won't get to see them until sometime in January. So anyway, that being said, my number 10 we talked about earlier. It squeaked into my top 10, and this has been all over my chart from like number 7 down to number 20, and that is Last Night in Soho. Because for me, there was more good than bad. Not even bad, but there are things that didn't quite live up to where we wanted to be. So I actually would have expected this to be higher on my list originally, but I did enjoy this movie so much, whether it be Edgar Wright's his style, whether it be the acting performances, especially by the 2 female leads, were phenomenal in this. It's very creative. It's very original. Not everything worked, mostly being the third act. We've already talked about this, but enough worked for me that it squeaked into my top 10 and number 10.
Well, we talked about it in our previous video. So if you guys want to know my thoughts on it,
the other video. That's right.
Yeah, we talked about it in our other video for Last Night in Soho. I probably have listened to Anya Taylor-Joy, Anya. I think it's Anya. She says it's like aneurysm. I love that she said that too. It was like it's such a thing for her to say that. I probably have listened to her sing that version of Downtown like 8 times. It's beautiful.
On my way home from the theater, I brought it up on Spotify to listen to it.
Well, they have an actual music video of it where they got the chorus playing around her and stuff like that. It's also basically like a long version trailer of the film. Mm-hmm. I probably watched that video like 8 times. Like I said, visually, I think it looks great. I love Anya Taylor-Joy and Thomas McKenzie in this. I think Matt Smith should have been utilized more. And like I said, the third act to me just doesn't kind of work. I love the first half of this film. But yeah, it didn't crack my top 10, but I still enjoyed the film nonetheless. If you want to see a little more elaborate on that, feel free to check out the review or check out the last video with Most Disappointed and Worst Films of the Year. It's not one of the worst films of the year. It was on my Disappointed. It's something I really liked the movie, so calm down, everybody. Going to my number 9. This is a movie that, to me, I didn't think it would crack my top 10, but everything about it just worked for me. And that is National Champions. This is a movie, it just, like we said with our most surprising, a trailer just randomly showed up, and then it was like coming out like in 2 weeks. And it's like, oh shit, okay. And I watched it because you got J.K. Simmons, you got Timothy Oliphant, you got I'm blanking on her name, Adubo from Orange is the New Black. It's got a bunch of other cast, but basically the main premise is you got the Heisman Trophy winner and future number 1 pick and his friend, and they're getting ready to play in the college football playoff championship game. and they decide we're going to boycott the game unless the NCAA starts paying its athletes. And that's basically what the story is surrounding, is the NCAA trying to get this kid to play, so that way the championship game still goes on, and then the kid trying to rally the athletes around him. This is a movie that I think why it works so well for me is I think for the most part everyone does a fantastic job acting in this film. Everything felt believable to me. What I mean by believable is the way the press handles the situation, the way the NCAA handles the situation, the way they keep trying to find things to discredit the players that are doing this. Everything about this just felt so real and not over fantasized, not over the top. Everything felt very grounded, and it just was like, yeah, this 100% could happen. Like, I 100% buy in that this is what would happen. And this is exactly the steps that they would have taken in this film. And I think the cast in this film is great. J.K. Simmons is always fantastic, and he's great as the head coach in this film. The two college athletes, which is Anthony Ludwig, who I've always been a fan of, or not Anthony, Alexander Ludwig. I've always been a fan of him. And then the main kid is
James.
What's
Stephen
that?
Stephen or Stephen James? I'm not sure.
Yeah, Stephen James. I think he does way better than I expected him to be as the main character. I really enjoyed this film. This is gonna be one of those movies that a lot of people are not gonna check out. It came out during like Christmas, like the week before Christmas. There's so many movies coming out that this is definitely one that I think a lot of people, unless you're really, really big sports fans, are probably not going to know this movie came out. But I think this was actually one of the better, well-done films of the year.
Yeah, this one, it didn't make my top 10, but it did make my top 20. And that's, honestly, this very well could have been on my surprise list because, like you said, it came out of nowhere.
Oh, did you actually see it? I never heard you saw it.
I think I saw it before you did, actually.
National Champions?
Yeah. Because I told you it was really good, and that you said, "Oh, good."
That's right. You did see. Yeah, you did. You did say it was really good, and I was like, "Okay, good. I'm going to check it out." Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So but this is a movie again. I went into it knowing almost nothing. Well, actually, because Sean saw the trailer before me, and he goes, "Have you heard of this movie coming out?" Because we were talking about for Weekend Crusaders, and you listed that. I'm like, "What is that?" And he goes, "Oh, it's this movie coming out in like a week." So I checked out the trailer. I'm like, "Oh, that looks interesting," and I saw it, and I really, really enjoyed it. I mean. It's like Son said, it felt realistic, but the acting's great top to bottom. It's got a lot of people who we love around here, like Timothy Olyphant and J.K. Simmons, things like that. My only problem with the movie at all was not the movie's fault, and that is that it was always going to feel unsatisfying at the end because they either had to completely fictionalize it because we know that currently NCAA players aren't being paid, or they had to have a downer ending, I guess. But I thought they found out a way to end it, and it actually kind of worked out. I won't say anything more about it. It is already on all of the places you can rent it and buy it, so I check it out. I recommend checking it out.
My only negative is that I really wish we would have saw who won the championship game because that's such a big story element for J.K. Simmons' character. And we never get to see if he.
Well, I get that, but this was a movie that wasn't.
I get that. I know. But they could have had like during the credits rolls, you could hear like the announcers in the background talking.
I will
about
say,
it.
okay, sorry, yeah. Sean and I had the same thought while watching this movie though, because we talked about it, and both of us are like, I love Timothy Olyphant, but this storyline has nothing to do with anything.
Until they eventually.
And then later on in the movie, we're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that and Uzi
Aduba.
She's fantastic in this film. She has this one scene with the two student athletes that is like, this is why she was in this.
She just lays a smackdown on him, yeah.
Or she lays a smackdown, and she does it in such a great way. What was your number 9?
My number 9 is not the last musical you'll see on my list. It is Tick, Tick, Boom. This is a movie directed by Lin-Manuel Miranda. It stars. What's that?
Is it his first directorial film?
It's his first directorial film, yeah. It stars Andrew Garfield, who's just had a stellar year. his best acting, of course, has been lying about being in Spider-Man, but his second best acting performance was in this movie. This is a movie. It's about Jonathan Larson, the guy who created Rent. But this is basically him trying to create this other musical before Rent, and he's kind of going through like this. I guess you'd call it kind of a midlife crisis. Although he's 29, he's on the cusp of 30, and he's kind of struggling with he hasn't gotten to where he wants to be. He hasn't created that masterpiece by the time he's 30 that he wanted to, and so that's the tick tick boom is the ticking of the clock as he thinks his 30th birthday is like this landmark in his life. Um, but the movie, I love the songs in it. I think that I will say the direction of it, and especially with some of the musical numbers, I didn't agree with Lin-Manuel Miranda's choices in a couple of places. So there are a couple flaws, I think, to the movie. But I think the songs are great. I think Andrew Garfield does a pretty good job. Um, a couple times he gets a little bit over the top, but it kind of works. So I don't have a problem with that. The supporting cast is all great, and this is just one of those movies that I'm a sucker for musicals. So I mean, right already, you had it, one step in the right direction, and this just hit me in all the right ways, and I really enjoyed this one.
I will be talking about this later,
Oh.
so I will refrain from talking.
Why aren't you supposed to tell me that before so that we can just talk about it
Well,
later?
you had already started going into it, so I wasn't going to stop you.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, all right, well, fuck it, keep going.
Okay.
My next one is a film that it will probably be up for Oscar contention, and that is King Richard. I think King Richard, Will Smith. I've missed Will Smith because let's face it, the last few movies Will Smith has had has not been the greatest, with Gemini Man and Bad Boys for Life. But I mean, we like Bad Boys, but to me, I think it's the weakest Bad Boys film. But I've missed Will Smith being Will Smith. But the thing is that he's not Will Smith in this movie. He's basically playing Richard Williams. And he fully embodies the portrayal of Richard Williams in this film. And I think he perfectly should be nominated for Best Actor. I'm not saying he should win, but he definitely needs to be acknowledged for his great performance in this film. The story of this film, he's such a character that you see what he's going for, you see what he's striving to do, but God, is he tough to get along with. He's a tough dude to deal with, and you see that through this film with John Bernthal, who's great in this film, and all the other people that he has to interact with, because he's so confident that Venus and Serena are going to become the next Michael Jordans of the sport, that he is willing to be the biggest headache for anyone who tries to interact with them, to the point where it could hurt them, professionally. But he has this master game plan, this book that he has in his brain of how he's going to take care of these girls and how he's going to do certain things to work the other one and to build them up and build them down. And Will Smith does a masterful performance in this. The rest of the cast is fantastic too. The two girls who played Venus and Serena, especially Venus, because the story is more around Venus and less about Serena, which is a negative, because I feel like Serena did end up becoming the better tennis player of the two, and I feel like they could have given Serena a little more to do. Plus, I also think they could have given a little more of seeing them grown up and them dominating, because this movie does end like right at the cusp of Venus becoming, a name. But the journey that we go through, showing them that, that where they're basically living in, what was it, Harlem or basically, gangster streets, and how Richard and his wife, take care of their daughters and raise them up to keep them away from the gang life, and basically push them and strive them to be great, to the point where their neighbors, who just don't understand, constantly thinks that they're being abusive to the kids, not because they're beating them, it's because they just ride them so hard to greatness that these neighbors are just butting in. And then watching the rise of these two girls to being two of the best tennis players of all time, for anyone who knows the sport. And I think it's done incredibly well. This is one of those movies that's like, it lived up to the hype for me in terms of what I had heard about the performance and knowing what this movie was going to be. And as I was watching, I was going, yeah, Will Smith killed it. Will Smith fucking rocked this performance, and he deserves all the praise he's going to get for this film. And that's why it's my number 8.
I have not seen this movie. And honestly, I have no interest in seeing this movie. I've heard nothing but good things about it, and I like Will Smith. It's just this movie just isn't the kind of thing that interests me. I mean, maybe like when Oscar nominations comes out, maybe I'll be swayed to watch it, and I have nothing against it. It's not one that personally interested me.
I don't think you can even watch it right now if you wanted to, because I think it's past the 30.
It's like, but it's in that between area where it's off of HBO Max, but it'll come back later. Yeah.
Exactly. What was your number 8?
My number 8 is The Suicide Squad.
I'll be talking about this later. So.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
So you're supposed to say it faster so we can move on to the next one. Okay.
All right. Let's move on to this one. What's your number 7?
Oh, I know we'll talk about this one later for you. My number 7, second musical on the list, Dear Evan Hansen.
No, we talked about. Are you serious? It's seriously in your top 10?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
So Sean talked about this on another video.
It was my honorable mention for one of the worst films of the year.
So, okay, here's the thing about Dear Evan Hansen. Right up front, Ben Platt cast as the lead. I mean, obviously he did it in Broadway. Cast in the lead in the movie, completely wrong, because he looks way too old for it. By trying to put the makeup on, it just doesn't help anything. He just looks too old, and he also has kind of awkward faces the whole time and stuff. It is what it is. But if you look past the whole miscasting of him, I think that the movie is very, very good. I love the music in it. I love the songs in it. I think they got a great supporting cast with everybody from Caitlin Dever to Julianne Moore, and many others. I think they all do a very good job. The story of it, a lot of people, including Sean, have problems with it talking about the way he's manipulating people and his motivations, things like this. But honestly, I think he was very realistic. It's a kid who told a lie with the best of intentions, this original lie, but then things just snowballed and got in over his head. And the more he got into it, it was like, if I tell the truth now, it's going to be even worse. And so it just snowballed. And the longer it took, the worse it would seem if he came out and told the truth. But in the end, it's a movie about not feeling like you fit in anywhere and not feeling like you have those friends out there. And as somebody who, in their youth, I didn't feel like I had a lot of friends. I felt like a misfit in school. And so a lot of things hit really close to home in this. But I thought this was a well-made film. I thought it was emotional in all the right ways. I'm not 100% sold on the ending of it. But for the most part, I thought it was really well done. And I did not have the problems that a lot of other people had with it. Sean.
If y'all want to know my thoughts on this, watch the previous video we just did where we talked about most disappointing and worst films of the year. Because he's praising it, and I don't want to shit all over it. So I'm not going to do it. If you guys want to know my thoughts, watch my review. Watch the previous video we just did. You'll get my thoughts and understandings of it, which he kind of explained it a little bit there. Going on to my 7, we talked about this a little bit ago, or Brian talked about it a little bit ago, and that is Raya and the Last Dragon.
We're going to talk about that later.
Okay, so we're going to move on to my 6th, which you just talked about, which was Tick, Tick, Boom. This was a movie I had no intention to really check out, mainly because musicals, for me, they're hit and miss. They just really have to hook me in with the cast or something like that to really make me check it out. And me watching a musical about the guy who did Rent, which is another musical I never watched, really wasn't the selling point for me. But I like Andrew Garfield. And I like, oh God, I'm blanking on what's her name, who looks like Haley Steinfeld.
Alexander Shipp.
Yeah, Alexander Shipp. I like those characters, or I like those performers. And I was hearing some word of mouth about the film. Plus, obviously, Lin-Manuel Miranda, his first directorial debut. I love Hamilton. There's another movie that we are probably both going to be talking about here a little bit later that's also got Lin-Manuel Miranda's hands in it. So I was like, you know what? Let's check it out. Let's watch it. And as I was starting the film, I was kind of trying to figure out where we were going with this movie. And I'm blanking on the name of the song. It's the very, very first song. It's the birthday song.
Oh, 3090? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, 3090. he starts singing this song 3090, which is about him turning 30, or Andrew Garfield as John Lawson, right?
Jonathan Larson.
Jonathan Larson. And he's going into the beat of the song. I'm like, okay, I'm digging it a little bit. And then he goes in the full swing of it, and I'm just like, holy crap, this is a really, really good song. And I'm loving kind of almost the manicness of the performance of Andrew Garfield through this character. And and then you got his, like you got Vanessa Hudgens right there, and you got the rest of the cast and stuff. And I'm like, all right, that was a really, really good song. Let's hopefully grow from this. And then the next song is when they're all hanging out in his apartment. It's Bohemia. I also fucking love that song. Oh, hell yeah. Bum, ba, bum, ba, bum, ba, bum, bum, bum. Yeah, it's like, Bohemia. I love it. And just the movie just kept growing from there. And I really, like you said, that he kind of went over the top with it, with the performance, but I loved Andrew Garfield in this film. I love the journey we go on with him. And like I said, there's certain performances that you like, musical numbers you didn't like. And the one that you had the problem with is the one I really enjoyed, because to me it was the most Lin-Manuel Miranda song of the film. That I really, really like this film. And as the whole time I was watching the movie, I don't know. I just hit my mic like you did.
Revenge.
I don't know Jonathan Larson like you do. So I didn't know where the movie was going. I didn't know what was going to happen. So I kept wondering.
And honestly, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I don't know that much about him, because basically beyond Rent, I don't know anything about him, because this is the only other thing he really was able to do. And so that's why I love this story, is to tell the story we didn't know about him.
Well, see, maybe just because I wasn't connecting it right away. Mm-hmm. I didn't know when he was doing the whole the actual performance of Tick, Tick, Boom. I didn't know that was him actually doing Tick, Tick, Boom. I thought for some reason it was kind of like almost like Chicago, where it's like it's in his head and he's like,
I see what you mean.
Yeah, he's performing it to a group of people, and he's just, this is the way he's just kind of explaining it. Mm-hmm. But I didn't realize that was him actually doing the performance of Tick, Tick, Boom, because I didn't know what Tick, Tick, Boom was. Because I thought the whole movie was about him trying to do I forgot the name of the space play he was trying to do.
Suburbia? No,
I thought it started with a P, but I thought that's what the film was about. And then as we get to the end of the film, and you realize he's right there, like, oh shit, this is the play. This is Tick, Tick, Boom. I was like, to me it was a realization, because I was not connecting it. Like I thought it was like, yeah, he's performing in front of people and he's doing these weird little numbers. I was like, but this is all probably in his head. This is probably how his head works. Mm. And the manicness of this character, I think, works well. I think Andrew Garfield does a fantastic job. I loved his performance. He's another person who I think should get nominated for Best Actor for his performance. I hope he does, because I think he did a phenomenal job. I love the music. I bought the soundtrack for Tick, Tick, Boom. It's on my phone. I listen to it. I love the performances. There's a number. The main crux of this film is that he's got to showcase this play. We're both spacing on the name of the play.
I thought it was Superbia, but I'll check it. Go ahead.
It might be Superbia. I think it's the P of it that was making me think it was started with that. Yeah, but the whole point is that he has to think of this one last song, like this third act song, and he's having the problem figuring it out. When he finally figures out this song, the performance of this song, which is duoed by Ship and Hudgens, I think they both knock this out of the park. I think they do a fantastic version of the song together, because that's the fantasticalness of it. It's like Andrew Garfield's imagining being in front of Alexander's Ship singing this, and then of course he's there at the showcase of it with Vanessa Hudgens singing it. And like the fantasticalness of the whole thing is like, obviously Vanessa Hudgens is singing it, but he's picturing her, Alexander's Ship singing it. And I think they both knock it out of the park. And I really, really loved how well this film happened. And then we get to the end when a certain character reveals something, and we get Andrew Garfield's performance at the what's that place called that he was at? It's not the Grand Ole Opry, is it? Where he's performing that one song, he's playing the piano and he's outside.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called.
It's a very iconic place. I don't know what it's called, but first, I always wonder how the hell people always get on there without security stopping them, because it was raining, and like I'm sure that piano's like drenched, but like the power that Andrew Garfield is delivering in that song. I loved Tick Tick Boom. It was definitely, once again, would have been on my most surprising list, but I was trying to keep them separated because I went into this movie just like, let's watch this musical, and was just blown away by how much I love this film.
He's at the closed Delacorte Theater in Central Park.
Okay.
But yeah. I mean, I've already talked about the movie, but I really liked the movie. I thought it was really well done. So I agree with everything you said. And where are we at here? Number 6.
You did Suicide Squad, and then I said we would talk about it later.
Yeah, and 7 was Jeremy Hansen. Your 7 was Tick Tick Boom?
No, my 7 was Raya. And you said we talk about that later, so then I went to Tick Tick Boom.
Okay, so my 6 is Free Guy.
We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
Go to your 5 then.
My 5 is Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Okay, let's talk about it.
This is the one I actually want to watch.
We went on a journey with this one.
Yeah, I want. First of all, I want to watch this movie again because I wonder. Sometimes I think about it and I think, was I too generous to this movie? Was it as good as I?
Or were you just caught up in
gave it credit for at the beginning, or was it just like, wow, I was relieved and that I enjoyed this movie that was good, and I might have given it too much credit. I don't know. As of right now, it sits at number 5 on my list. Could go down, could go up. Who knows? So yeah, Ghostbusters. There's been a whole journey. The first one, obviously one of my favorite movies of all time. The second one, enjoyable, but a big step down from the first one. The 2016 one,
we don't need to talk about it.
We won't talk about it. So they're going to make a new Ghostbusters movie, and like, should they? I don't know. We see a trailer for it. We're like, it's not really
Ghostbusters movie we wanted.
What we're looking for. It's like, is this just going to be Stranger Things with the Ghostbusters name on it? We don't know what it is. But I go see the movie, and I really, really enjoyed what they did with it. It's like Jason Reitman was able to make this movie that, yes, it's a reboot of sorts because it does focus mainly on these kids and kind of whether it be Egon's granddaughter or Podcast, who we both really enjoyed him, and he totally is the kind of character who should just be stupid. We should just hate this character.
Oh, we should totally hate the Podcast.
Look, they made this annoying kid, and he names himself Podcast, and he walks around trying to record everybody talking like, oh, that's going to be stupid.
Shut up.
But he was great. We loved him in the movie. You have Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things is in the movie as her older brother. He's got kind of a side plot along with this other girl, and they're fine in it, but that's kind of a secondary thing. Paul Rudd, who is, I think, one of the most consistently funny actors working today, he's in it, and I mean, he's Paul Rudd. I mean, he's reliable, he's good in it, but really, what it comes down to this movie is the heart of this movie, and how they not only were able to still pay tribute to the original one and still have it connect to the original one, but the way that they tied in the whole with Harold Ramis, with Egon, because obviously he passed away. So to have him be such a character in this movie from the very first scenes of this movie, he's a character in this movie. You don't see him, but he's there, and you can feel his presence throughout this entire movie.
Yeah. And
it drives the whole movie. And I like how they acknowledge time has passed. They acknowledge relationships between the Ghostbusters. People have changed, and how that has strained things. How it's changed everything, and what that has resulted in. And then you learn the motivations behind it. And it's just a sequel that didn't feel like a cash grab. It felt like we really want to move the story to the next level, kind of see where it's gone in the last 30 years or whatever it is. And I just thought they were successful top to bottom. Also, great cameo as one of the main demons in there, who was uncredited, but I was very happy to see her in this.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those. I think, like, I'm like you. I had a lot of personal connections to the Ghostbusters. We did a spoiler review. We talked all about it. But yeah, the heart is what sells this film. I like you, I saw that first trailer and I was like, oh no, they're gonna fuck Ghostbusters up again. And then we saw a second trailer. I was like, okay, it
Maybe.
made me feel a little better, but I'm still, But damn it, this movie worked. It fucking did. And that last act, like, yes, a lot of people are going, it's just Ghostbusters 1 all over again. Shut up. We're allowed to have this shit. It's yes, we're bringing back the villain from the first film, but I mean, it's fine. There's nothing against it. They explain it well enough in the film for it to make sense. But when the OGs show up, the characters that we grown up with, that we love, and they show up and you see them on screen again. Yes, is the dialogue a little sure, but just seeing them together in the suits with the proton packs is what we wanted. And then you get that moment, which we all know the moment, like it just overtook the emotions. Like I think the last time I had this kind of emotion was probably Avengers Assemble in Endgame, where I was so overwhelmed by what I was seeing that I just had tears because it was so impactful for what that they had the balls to fucking do it.
Yeah.
And B, that it looked so good.
Technically, it was done so well. Yeah.
It looked so good because we've seen them do this in other films and it didn't look right. It looked bad, but it worked in this, and it was taken with so much respect. And then you had that moment where they said for Harold, and it was just like, oh, you motherfuckers, you didn't have to do that kind of thing. But yeah, it really does work. There are some issues with it. Certain characters like Finn Wolfhard, who I feel like are just kind of shortchanged. And do I wish that they had Slimer in it instead of Muncher? Sure, but Slimer is a New York ghost, not I think they're an Oklahoma ghost. But yeah, this is a movie that on paper shouldn't have worked. And yes, it's not the Ghostbusters movie we wanted or the Ghostbusters movie that we got. But you know what? For what it was, it knocked it out of the park, and it blew us both away. And we were both pleasantly happy with the movie that we got, which was the movie that we didn't think that we needed, but it's the film that we deserved in a way. So yeah, Ghostbusters. Obviously wasn't my top 10, but definitely worth talking about. That was your 5? Okay. My 5 is The Suicide Squad. Talk about a movie that should not have worked. We saw this first trailer, or it wasn't even the first trailer. It was was it E3 like 2019 where they showed like what was like a 2 or 3 minute thing?
DC Fandom.
Yeah, they showed this like 2 to 3 minute thing because
behind the scenes thing, basically.
Yeah, at this time we were like, fuck, I don't want to see a Suicide Squad movie.
Well,
and it was DC world was just kind of like, okay, Aquaman was okay, Shazam was okay, Wonder Woman, yeah, it's Wonder Woman, but like we're like, oh, James Gunn's gonna make a Suicide Squad film. We're like, okay, he did Guardians, so we'll see what he has. And then we saw this behind the scenes reel, and we were like, holy shit, this actually looks really good. And then you start to see the cast, and you start to see the characters that are going to be in this film, and all these people pop up. And then you get the first actual trailer, and you're like, there's no way this movie's going to be as good as it's making it out to be. Like, it's good. I feel like this movie looks really, really good, and it's going to suck. And I remember it came out on HBO Max, and I watched it, and I like it ended. And the first thing I did is I went, I got my dad. I was like, hey, what are you doing right now? He goes, nothing. I go, you're fucking watching Suicide Squad right now. And I sat down and I watched it pretty much within 30 minutes after watching it the first time. And I just sat there and watched it a second time and still loved it. This movie's so fucking good. It has no business being as good as it is. Their own version of having like an Omaha Beach kind of thing in the first opening number. The Nathan Fillion of it. To me, and I knew I was gonna love this character to begin with, but King Shark, who Sylvester Stallone does fantastic as King Shark, but to me the MVP of I didn't realize I needed this character because I didn't realize this character was gonna work it was fucking Polka Dot Man. Like David say his last name.
Dalmatian. I don't even know.
Dalmatian or something like that. That character should not work at all. And that character was great. It like I this movie. I felt like yeah, I'm really high on it right now, but by year's end, we'll see exactly where it lies. And I still just look back at it going, man, that movie was fucking awesome. It was so good. And I know Peacemaker is coming out here in like the next week or two, so I'm gonna have to rewatch Suicide Squad again before I watch Peacemaker, and I can't wait to rewatch it again. John Cena's great in it. Idris Elba he's basically being Idris Elba, but it's fine. I enjoyed all that. I love the moment with him and John Cena basically having the dick measuring contest when they go into the village. And then they realize what the village is. They're just all like, shit, sorry, kind of thing. Rick Flag actually looked like he was, actually having fun in this movie. And damn, this movie actually made me give a shit about Rick Flag, which was a character I could give two fucks about in the other Suicide Squad film. Harley Quinn is, I don't want to say she's the weakest part of the film, but even as the weakest part of the film, she's still a great character in this film. I love the way it was shot. I love the humor. I love the gore. I love the action. I love everything about this movie. But you brought this up earlier, so go ahead and talk about your side of it.
No, I will mostly just echo everything you said. It's like you said. They said they're gonna make another Suicide Squad movie, and like why? But then it's like, oh, James Gunn's doing it, and he's essentially doing a reboot. I mean, it's technically a sequel. There are carryover characters, but he's basically starting over. And then when you see, like you said, when they revealed that first thing where you saw basically the characters he chose to include in it are, whereas the other one was very safe with their picks. This is like, let's pick a shark dude. Let's pick a dude who just has a javelin, and let's pick a dude who throws polka dots. And you're like, this is James Gunn through and through. And so really, once James Gunn's name was attached, I was all in already. But then when we saw the first trailer, and you're like, especially the first Red Band trailer, like, this is definitely right up my alley. I'm going to love this. And sure enough, I loved the movie. Was it perfect? No. I mean, there's little things here and there that I didn't like as much, but I'll be damned if I didn't have a hell of a time. For me, the MVP honestly ended up being John Cena, Peacemaker. It's just something about him worked for me. It's just so hilarious. But King Shark is right up there with it as well. I forgot what else I was going to say. Oh, in addition to the whole cast, and to top off this whole great cast they put together, you get a brief cameo of Taika Waititi as Ratcatcher 1.
Yes, you almost forgot about...
Yeah, I just rewatched this like 2 days ago because I wanted to rewatch it again before I made my list. And honestly, and this is another one that's been up to number 5 and down to number 10. This is where it is currently, but tomorrow it could be different for me.
Yeah, this I think this started at like number 1 or number 2 for me, and then it moved down the list because of other
just more stuff to come out.
Yeah, but now this movie, like Ratcatcher 2, she was great in it. The banter with John Cena with everyone. I mean, the one line is in the Red Band trailer. We're just like, why don't you, you're the leader. You're supposed to. Well, I told you to eat a bag of dicks. If I had it, if
your whole beach was covered in dicks, I'd eat them all in the name of liberty. I would do it.
Do it. What? Why would someone? Who knows what crazy men do? That makes me so excited for the show.
I'm really looking forward to the show. Yeah.
If they bring the same energy, which he has a fucking eagle as a pet, like it's just, I'm so excited for the show because of the way John Cena came with this. Suicide Squad's so great. I love this movie so much. What is your number 4?
My number 4 is Raya, the Last Dragon.
Okay. Let me get mine because you talked about it a little bit in the surprise.
I don't really have much more to say. I realized I spoke too much about it earlier. I pretty much said everything I have to say, but yeah, I'm just going to reiterate that this blew away my expectations, and I just really enjoyed it. And let you go on.
This is another movie that we had a journey on because we saw stills, like artistic drawings of it. We're like, this looks gorgeous. And it's got a dragon in it, and like, okay, this is something that you want to. I remember during our most anticipated, we were like, we don't really know what this movie is, but it looks really, really good.
But
I hope this looks good. Fast forward like 2-3 months later, we get the first trailer, and we see what it is, and we both go, so Awkwafina's the talking dragon.
And I heard her voice, I was like,
oh no, this movie's not going to be good. It looks great, but it does not look good now. And so it was one of those like very like one of the ones where it's like, oh, you can spend $30 to get on Disney Plus, or you can go to theaters. And I was like, fuck it, COVID's still a big issue. I'm gonna just get on Disney Plus. And then you start to see the world. Like I love that the world is like it is a dragon, and like each tribe was like the spine and the head.
Spine, heart.
Like,
Yeah,
I love like I was like it's so like minuscule, but it's like I love the description of that. And then like I said, the developing story between Raya and her father, and just the dynamic of the world. Like I said, the feud with the other girl because she's the other part of the tribe, and she's kind of trying to do the same thing that Raya is trying to do, but she's being portrayed as the villain because that part of that tribe is kind of like assholes, and Raya's kind of is like the peacemaker, and she's just trying to get power.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get Awkwafina. Awkwafina's very first scene is rough. Is a rough scene because she's trying to be like up to date and like woke and like trying to like make jokes that like doesn't match the realm of the world that they're in. Like she's making like 2021 jokes, and it's like this world's not present day shit. Like this is like that joke doesn't hit with here. It hits for people watching at home like kids, but it doesn't match with the world setting. And then we finally get out of that scene, which is still just a poorly done scene. But we get out of that scene, and we start to develop the story of, I'm forgetting the name of the dragon, or Awkwafina's dragon's name. But we start to develop the relationship between her and Raya and her abilities, and then we start to, get the other characters. You have the kid with the boat, and you have the baby, who I thought was pretty fucking funny because the baby was basically this, badass thief. And you start to get this journey with them. And it just all just kind of comes together, and like the action sequences work really well. And like I said, there's the one scene where she starts to fight that tribal girl again, where it's like all like smoky, like in the forest, and it looks beautiful. And by the time you get to the end of the film, it's a beautifully well done story. Take that one introduction to Awkwafina's character out of the equation. This is actually almost a near perfect Disney film.
It really
but yeah, I haven't watched it, I think, since it came out. But
I wish you had gotten to see it on the big screen, because I went and saw it for the first time in IMAX.
But you got to remember, I don't have an IMAX here, so
well, I understand that, but even
to
see it just to see it on the big screen, because I know you have like a HD TV and stuff at home, or 4K, but it's like, but just the animation is, I cannot tell you how blown away by it. It's, like I said, the grain on the wall, the hair, and the way it moved, simple gestures. The animation is this next level for Disney. It really is.
Which honestly, I'm going to say that they continued that with Encanto.
Yeah, Encanto I actually rewatched this past week. I watched that one, and while the technical animation, as far as like the
visuals and
environment stuff, wasn't quite as detailed as Raya, because they went for a little bit more of a cartoony look instead of a realistic look.
Mm-hmm.
The animation of it, what I really noticed the most was, we're talking about a different movie now, but when they're talking, the mouths are so detailed in how they're actually moving, like a real mouth moving, they're talking, as opposed to just like old movies used to be. Anyway,
there's the one scene where when the house comes completely down and she's just caked in dust.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it looked real.
I was like, God, that looks.
You took out the cartoony face, the dust in her hair and stuff.
Yeah,
it looked real.
It looks, and Raya, like, so you add more of a fantastical world with it, like just the look of Awkwafina's dragon. When she's in dragon form, it looks great. And then you have the whole chase sequence with the baby. Everything looks great in that. Disney has really gone above and beyond on their animations this year, and I can't wait. Honestly, they kind of started a couple years back with Frozen 2. They just, every movie they're coming out with has just been knocking it out of the park with their visuals. Yeah. So that was your 4?
That's 4.
That was 4. Okay, so my 4, I know we're going to talk about. So I'm just going to say it, and we'll just move forward, because I know we're going to talk about it, and that's In the Heights.
Next.
Exactly. So my number 3, which was my number 1 for a little while, is Free Guy. We good to talk about that?
I had that at 6.
Oh, that's right. All right. This was my number 2 most anticipated film of the year, behind Spider-Man. I've been excited for this movie for almost 2 years now.
Something like that.
Since the first trailer, I have been like giddy about this movie because Ryan Reynolds as a NPC, non-playable character in a Grand Theft Auto Fortnite kind of game, and just watching that first trailer, I was in love.
First trailer was December 7th, 2019. So yeah, 2 years.
Yeah, yeah. So I was in love with this movie. I've seen that trailer probably 100 times before this movie came out. Plus, you add Taika Waititi. You add God, I'm blanking on the real actor's name. But I'm gonna say Steve.
Joe Keery.
Things. Yeah. And then everything about this movie just looks great and looked fun and exciting. And I was telling Brian this was it the week of when it was coming out. I was like, I'm so worried. I was like, because I think I've built this movie too far in my head. Like, I feel like I'm so excited for this movie that this movie's not going to be good. And you're like, well, you'll see what happens. Then I went and saw it, and it did everything I wanted to do. Like, it exceeded my expectations. I was so happy with this because Ryan Reynolds' character, yes, he has the quippiness and the stuff like that, but he's also playing it almost, I don't want to say childlike, but he's he's a fish out of water. He just realizes this world of his is fake, and that he could be a hero, and him going through the trials and tribulations of it, and then kind of learning as he's going. I loved Ryan Reynolds' performance in this. The moment when he realizes that his world's not real, that performance he has where his world is literally breaking around him, and he's like, my life doesn't matter anymore. Like, that breakdown of his character, I thought that was one of the better performing scenes in Ryan Reynolds' career. I thought he did a phenomenal job there. I felt that emotion from him in that scene. Like, I actually got emotional watching him perform that scene. The Easter eggs for gamers out there is perfect. Like, just watch, like, I want you to watch the movie, but if you actually look behind, like, Ryan, you see, like, people just randomly jumping and people running into, like, trying to do this into a wall because that's what people online are doing.
They teabagged.
Exactly, teabagging and stuff like that. The Easter eggs are fantastic in this film. The cameos or voice cameos that if you're not paying attention to the cast, you'll never know that these people are in it. It's like The Rock and Hugh Jackman and
John Krasinski.
What's that?
And John Krasinski.
Yeah, John Krasinski, and some people think that Blake Lively's in it, but she's not. But I actually like that people think that Blake Lively's in this movie, but she's not in the movie. To the Easter eggs, which pissed off a lot of people when it came out. But I actually thought the whole Easter egg thing with like the Star Wars and MCU thing at the end, I thought that was fucking funny. I thought it was hilarious.
One of the best parts of the movie.
Exactly. I love this film so much. I love every aspect of this film. Little Ro Howery, who I'm kind of off and on, I loved him in this. Like I said, I love every aspect of this film. And like I said, I was so worried because I had so high expectations, and it hit every one of them. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I can't really add much more to what you said, but I was not as sold on the movie. I like the concept of it sounded interesting. A lot of it was going to ride on Ryan Reynolds doing the Ryan Reynolds thing, which can sometimes be too much, can sometimes work, and here it just works 100%. It definitely has that kind of feel like even in like Wreck-It Ralph when he realizes that he's just part of a game, or in Lego Movie, where they realize that they're in this world. It's got the same kind of concept to it, but what really sold this movie, what brought it to the next level, was the heart that it brought to it, which we've said that word a couple times today, but it's just true because it's the kind of those emotional moments, or what kind of took it from being just like this, zany concept comedy to being something more. And yeah, other than that, I agree with everything you said.
Also, let's not forget probably one of the best cameos of the year, Channing Tatum.
Oh my gosh.
I
am so happy. So first of all, I was mad when I was in theater, in the theater, and they dropped like this commercial or ad or whatever. They had the dude from they had like this whole like little segment, like interview with the dude. I'm like, why would you steal that surprise? You ruined the surprise of this movie of having this Ryan Reynolds version.
That shit got spoiled like a week before.
Yeah, they put it online, and it was actually played in the theater before other movies, things like that. I'm like, well, you just spoiled it. It could have been a cool surprise. But I'm so happy I did not know Channing Tatum was in this movie, because when he showed up, I'm like, that's awesome. Especially that one scene.
He's in the very, very beginning. I was like, was that Channing Tatum, or was that just a character to look like Channing Tatum? And then you get his actual reveal, and you see who's voicing him, which we've seen that actor before.
Yeah.
And then you hear Tina Fey in the background, and just that whole thing, don't touch that sock, Mom! Don't touch that sock! It's just like, and then you're just doing his little like dances here and there, and then you go back to him later when he finds the Easter egg, and he's like doing the dance on like the building top. He's like, yeah, he's a very good dancer. The Channing Tatum cameo broke me in that movie. I died laughing in that film. Yeah, Free Guy is fantastic. That was my 3. Have you done your 3 yet?
I have not.
Okay.
My number 3. Let's have musical number 3 out of my top 10, and that's West Side Story.
Okay.
Clearly, I told you I'm a sucker for musicals. People, deal with it. So West Side Story is one of those movies that the big question is, why is he bothering remaking this movie when people consider that to be pretty much a great musical as it is? And I agree. I'm like, why remake this movie? But it's Steven Spielberg, and I pretty much trust him to do whatever he wants because he's like one of the greatest directors ever, and he's probably my favorite director. So I'll check it out. Ansel Elgort gets cast in it. I'm like, really? I don't see it, but whatever. Otherwise, it's mostly a cast of nobodies. I mean, there's a couple recognizable faces, but nobody real big. So I went and saw the movie based purely on Steven Spielberg and my love for the original show. And man, this movie is just great. It's shows you that remakes can be done and they can be as good as the original. I mean, there are changes here and there. Actually, most of the changes are actually closer to the original show than the movie, because they were making it from the original show, whereas this 1961 movie changed some things. But the musical performances are all great. The story obviously is pretty much the same thing. But the cast in this one is what really blew me away. It's like Rachel Zegler as Maria, in her first movie role, has just become a superstar. I mean, she does so well in this. Ansel Elgort, he sings fine, but up against the rest of this cast, he really is completely overshadowed. And on an acting standpoint, I feel no emotion from him in most scenes. It's like I don't buy the emotion from him. But he is the one weak link in this otherwise movie. Bernardo and Anita, I thought were 2 of the best roles in the movie, especially Anita, which is Ariana DeBose, who actually just went and rewatched Hamilton. She plays one of like basically the background characters.
Yeah.
I just watched her the entire time in Hamilton, and anytime she was on screen, I was watching her, because just to think that this person who was just this background player is now one of the leads in this movie, and she does a phenomenal job. But the movie, but so I won't go into too much detail about it. But it's just, I thought it was filmed beautifully. I thought the musical numbers are great, and I thought the performers did a great job.
Yeah, so, I had just watched this yesterday. I am not a fan of West Side Story. I don't like the 61 film. I had to watch it earlier this year, and I basically was like, I'm sorry, Brian, this movie sucks. This movie is not good. This is a crap film. I hate the flamboyant dancing of these thugs, these hardcore guys, and then here they're going play and all this. I was like, dude, punch them in the fucking face.
It's a musical. It's not real world.
No, but here's my main problem, and this still has that problem, but not to the extent. It's one thing if they're doing this, all the plie dancing, and everyone around them is doing it as well, because that's the world that they're in. Kind of like a movie that we're going to be talking about here very shortly, or even La La Land, where it's like, oh, it's not just Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone. Everyone on the interstate's dancing with them. That's the world. But here it's like these 10, 15 tough guys doing this dance, and everyone else is around them just going like, the fuck are these guys doing? Because that's what happens in this movie. In the opening number with the Jets, they're walking around the street and they're acting like hard asses and doing douchebag shit, and then they start doing the blah 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 blah, and you look past them and everyone's walking down the street going, what the fuck? And it's like, that takes me out of the movie, because it's just them being just doing that. Now with America, that one, they're all dancing with them. They're all performing with them, like another musical that we're about to talk about. And that one, that works for me, but like whenever the Jets or even the Sharks for that matter are dancing, everyone just looks at them like they're weird, and that takes me out of the movie. But this film, Spielberg, of course, I agree, Spielberg, one of my favorite directors of all time. So that's why main reason why I checked it out, because I wanted to see how he did with this, because I know how much I didn't like the original, and I was like, well, maybe he could do it better. And yeah, he does do it better. I actually enjoyed this version of West Side Story. I liked the changes that they made in this compared to the other film, which is basically, like you said, following the actual play. I liked the song mix-up. I liked how certain people sang different songs that they didn't sing in the original film. I said this in my review. One song that I actually really, really liked in this that I wasn't a fan of in the original was Cool Boy, which I hated that song in the original, but I loved it in this. And yes, they do the fantastical flamboyant dancing in that scene, but it felt more like a fight in that. And then trying to one-up each other in that moment. I really loved the way that was shot. Yes, Ansel Elgort, his voice is fine, but when he sings next to Rachel as Maria, she's got such a powerful voice that she drowns him out, which part of me is like, they probably should have toned her down so they would match. But it's like, why tone her down? She's a fucking like powerhouse voice. Elgort needs to raise it, but he can't, because they're singing that one song where it's just like he's singing, like you hear him, and then also she's just like, oh, in terms of just her vocal, like holy crap, she's just knocking his ass out of the water. She does the same thing to Anita at the end with that last song they sing together. That's just because her voice is so powerful. But I think Rachel Ziegler as Maria, I think she's fantastic. I said this in my review. That final scene, which anyone knows West Side Story, you know the scene I'm talking about. She shows so much passion and emotion in that final scene, which is something that the original Maria, to me, did not do. I didn't buy the original Maria's performance in that final scene in the other film. This one I bought. I felt the hurt, the pain, the raw everything from her in that moment. Anita in this, I always recognized her at Hamilton because I always watched the extras in Hamilton, and she was always the one I paid attention to because she, to me, was the most like energetic.
Well, yeah. When I watched Hamilton, she is definitely the one you paid attention to.
I didn't connect the dots,
but it wasn't until this movie was coming out and I looked up the name, like, oh, that's her. I didn't know.
I looked her up and I was like, Hamilton, and it said backup, and I was like, that's her. It's like, she's the one I always paid attention to in Hamilton. I love her in this. I think she's fucking amazing in this film. I can't wait to see what else she does. I loved her performance in this film. Rita Moreno, who was Anita in the previous film, she's great in this as well. Bernardo, yes, Bernardo's great. I don't really care much about the other Sharks or Jets, but you're not really supposed to. But yes, Ansel Elgort, his emotions, it's like looking at a mannequin. There's just nothing there. And I don't know if it's like his voice is fine. Like, I think here's the problem. I think when he's doing normal scenes, when he's just acting normal, I think he does fine. I think he does a good job when he's just talking. It's like when he sings, he can't emote facial expressions while he's singing. And maybe because he's too focused on trying to hit the right notes. But that's the problem. Is like when he's having regular conversations, I think he does a fine job, especially at the end when a certain thing is told to him that's not true. I feel like he acts the hell out of that. But when he sings, especially when he's singing to Maria on the fire escape, you look at her and you see her emotions, you see her passion for him there. You look at him and he's just like, it's like, dude, sell it with your fucking eyes, man. Come on, bro. You're singing to the woman that you're in love with. And to me, I think you're singing to yourself in the mirror. Like, there's just nothing.
Yeah, he's supposed to fall in love with this girl. He's barely cracking a smile.
Exactly. It's like I barely see any emotion coming from you. Like, I hear the words, but I don't see the words. And he is the lingering, negative of the film. And I feel kind of bad for him because he's really getting shit on. And it's like, he's okay, but yeah, it's his face. And I mean, it's your face. What can you do? I mean, you can keep going. I need more. But after like probably 5 or 10 takes, I'm sure Spielberg's like, we got to move on. The only other negative I have is that the lens flare of this movie is atrocious. It is bad. It is really bad. The lens flare of this movie. Like I said, I thought J.J. Abrams was directing this film at one point because there's so much lens flare. But yeah, no, I really liked it. It definitely made me come around on West Side Story. I will never watch the original, but I will watch this one again. My number 2 is a movie that you already brought up twice now. So I'm going to bring it up now, and that is The Harder They Fall.
Number 2. Wow.
Yeah, it was my number 2. It was my number 1 until another movie came out.
Wow.
I love this movie. This movie blew me away. Like, I remember I saw the trailer for it, and I was like, okay, it's a Western, and they're trying to go a certain way with it. All right, like, I'll check it out because I really like the cast here. And then I started watching it, and I was like, holy crap, this is beautiful. Like, it's shot gorgeously. It's not Tarantino, but it's directed by someone who appreciates Tarantino, and it has an eye like Tarantino does. Like, he's trying to respect Tarantino, but still trying to do his own thing. Visually, everything looks great. I think the acting performances for everyone is great. I like the action. I love the way he shoots. Like, for Idris Elba, he always shoots the camera upward to make him feel more larger than life. Everything about this film, I love. To me, it's almost a near perfect film in my eyes. I think everyone does a fantastic job with this. I love this film from first scene to credits. It's just I loved my number 1 a little bit more because of what my number 1 did to me emotionally. But I thought this film was just fantastic. It completely caught me by surprise. Was not expecting to love it as much as I did. I am not a Western fan at all. There's the occasional Western like Tombstone and stuff that I love. This one, to me, is, if you take the Val Kilmer performance out of Tombstone's solid, but it's not iconic. This movie is probably my favorite Western. I loved it that much. And that's why it was my number 2. Your number 2, we already know what it is. So we're going to talk about it. So we might as well go into it. Go ahead.
My number 2 is the third film with some kind of connection to Hamilton or Lin-Manuel Miranda. A fourth, if you count our mention of Encanto.
And your 4th musical. Right?
And my 4th musical. Yes. And that is In the Heights. This was my most anticipated movie going into this year and the previous year too, I believe. And I was not disappointed. I mean, this is a movie that I hadn't actually even seen the original show it was based on, but just knowing that it was done by Lin-Manuel right before Hamilton, and then seeing the cast they assembled here, I was really excited for this movie. And I cannot tell you, this is the movie. It has such life to it, and I mean that in the best possible way, because it's like you feel everything that the characters in this movie feel, whether it be joy, whether it be pride, whether it be sorrow, whether it be whatever. You feel everything along with every one of these characters. The musical numbers are phenomenal. I mean, some of them are, fantastical, where they're drawing things in the air, and some of it is big, crazy choreography going on, like at the public pool. Other ones are just 2 people singing alongside each other. Some of them are going up the side of a building. So it's got all kinds of musical numbers. I will say the one that both Sean and I kind of felt was the weak link of it was the one that everybody else loved about it. It was the Oscar baity one. Yeah, which it wasn't a bad song. It's just like, if we were going to pick a song to take out, that's it, because whatever. But I mean, I love the characters. You kind of felt for them. You felt their whole journey, and a lot of that is the cast. We got Anthony Ramos, who from Hamilton, playing the lead in this one. They put in Corey. I blanked out his last name.
Corey, is it Taylor? No, Corey Taylor's a singer. I'm looking it up.
Corey Hawkins.
Yeah.
Corey Hawkins in there. People, and then newcomers I'd never heard of. Yeah, Leslie Grace, Melissa Barrera. I thought they did a phenomenal job. Jimmy Smits, who knew he could sing? I didn't, but he does a pretty good job. But I just thought that this is a movie that, for a culture that I am not a part of, obviously, but also don't really know a whole lot about, this made you feel like you're a part of that community. You know exactly what's going on there, how these people feel, the struggles they have, the triumphs they have. the pride of relationships they have, and I really loved living in that world for 2 hours.
Yeah, this was one that, like I said, I've heard you talk about this movie for 2 years now, waiting for this to come out, like me with Free Guy.
Shut up, Brian.
And I remember going, oh God, like I am not gonna really like this movie. Like Brian,
Brian's not a musicals guy.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not a musicals guy, Brian. Like, this is not gonna be mine. Like, you're gonna be so mad that I'm not gonna like this movie. And sure enough, HBO Max. I was like, I think what really saved me for this, and I think a lot of people, is that Hamilton came out, and we had that time with Hamilton. Mm-hmm. I think had Hamilton not come out on Disney Plus when it did, and In the Heights hadn't gotten postponed like it did, I don't know if In the Heights would have. I mean, for people like you, yes, but for people like me, I don't know if In the Heights would have done as well in terms of likability without Hamilton. Because with Hamilton, I already kind of knew what I was going to come into. I already knew how the songs were. I knew how the beat was. I knew how the fast talking was going to go. Plus, I got to see Anthony Ramos already, which I only knew him as Lady Gaga's gay friend in The Star Is Born. But I got to see him in Hamilton. I got to see his performance. So I already knew what he could do as an actor outside of just being Lady Gaga's gay friend. So I think it getting postponed and not having Hamilton out there ahead of time immensely helped with this film. So I kind of had a more of an open ability to this movie. And I loved this film. Anthony Ramos is phenomenal as Usnavi, which I also love how we find out how his name is Usnavi. It's great. Yeah. Corey Hawkins. I've been watching Corey Hawkins for, obviously, he was Dr. Dre and Straight Outta Compton, and then you got him in The Walking Dead and the failed reboot of 24. His first song with where he's singing The Traffic. Yep. Love that song. Leslie Grace is amazing in this film. Melissa Barrera, gorgeous in this movie. I love Melissa Barrera in this film. But for me, one of my favorites, Stephanie Beatrice, who's the lead in Encanto, who people will know from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I never knew she could sing. Because she plays this one unique character in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and you hear her real voice, you're like, holy crap, that is not you from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And then you feel, holy crap, you can sing as well? Like, damn. And there's so much to love this movie. The beautiful bright colors of this, the way that this neighborhood is given life. It's given a heartbeat in this whole film is amazing. The music is fun. It's enjoyable. The ocean, not the ocean, the lottery, pool whole sequence is masterful, and it's incredibly well done. The fireworks song was Powerless. Is that the song Powerless?
Yeah, it's actually called. Yeah,
it's a combo song, isn't it? Isn't it Powerless mixed with something else?
I think it might be Fireworks Powerless. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that visually, it's great and stuff. And then of course you have the Oscar bait song, which like I said, you and I are just, because it's just too Oscar baity. It's like you're kind of taking me out of the movie, but then the movie continues on. It's I love this film. I love it. And I've gone back and I think I've rewatched this film 3 times. I basically took use out of the HBO Max ability of rewatching the movies until they got taken off. I bought this on 4K. I bought the soundtrack. I go back and rewatch just certain scenes. The first opening number, then the Heights song. I think I've gone back and rewatched the In the Heights song at least 5 times. This is one of those that I always tell Brian, I'm not a musical guy, but yet I keep finding these musicals that I just love. So maybe I am a musicals guy, but I'm not as big as a musical guy as Brian is, but maybe I am more of a musical guy than I like to make myself out to believe. But maybe it's just anything with Lin-Manuel Miranda connected to it. I'm very open to liking and potentially watching. But In the Heights was definitely a surprise. I was not expecting to like it, let alone love it like I did. Which now leaves our number one film. Everyone knows what it is, because if we haven't brought it up yet, then it's common sense of what the number one film is. That's Spider-Man No Way Home. Which, like I said, I'm going to keep reveling in this, because I remember Brian, like he said earlier, just being so, I don't want to say negative, but it's being so like, oh, God, multiverse. I'm so over this fucking multiverse shit. Like, we already did it in the Spider-Verse. This movie's not gonna be good. I don't care about Andrew Garfield. I don't care about Tobey Maguire. Like, just keep it just linear. Like, stop all this shit. And then movie comes out, he's like, "Holy crap, this movie was fucking great." And I was like, "Yes, yes!" I had the fucking buzzer beater, won the championship, all that shit, because Brian loved this fucking movie. I love Spider-Man. I love Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. He hates it. Andrew Garfield, I like him more than others. You like him a lot more. But I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. We've said this in our spoiler review. I think Tobey is a really good Peter Parker, not a good Spider-Man. I think Andrew Garfield is a really good Spider-Man, not a good Peter Parker, and Tom Holland is perfect with it all in between. This story, I'm still shocked at how well they made the story work, because we saw that first trailer when they finally released that trailer, the trailer that was never going to get released, and they finally released the trailer. You were very reserved. You're like, ugh, like this does not look good. I was like, I'm holding out hope, but I'm not necessarily loving the story, but we'll see what happens.
I never said it didn't look good. It was just I was kind of like,
That's you saying it doesn't look good. You going, is your way going, it's not that good. But nonetheless, this story worked. We were worried about the Doctor Strange aspect of it. It worked. We were worried about all the old villains coming back in. For the most part, they all worked. Obviously, we're worried about Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. They both came in and they both fucking worked. And the most important thing is that Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man got total redemption in this film. And you and I both said our favorite, probably one of our favorite moments of the year, is the scene. The one scene, his emotional expression from that moment, it like I was in tears.
It's like 3 seconds of this movie, and it's the best 3 seconds of the movie.
Yeah, those 3 seconds, and like I said, the movie's still new, so we're trying not to really give it away.
At this point, I mean, we're talking about the fact they're in it, so it's like,
well, yeah, but they don't need to know that moment. But that one moment that correlates with his previous films, let's just say that, is such a powerful moment. It's such a
not because of what you already expect, but because of the moment following. Yeah,
it's that moment, and it's the way, not because he did it, because we were all like, oh, it makes sense that he would do it. It's the way he sold that moment, the expression of that moment. Andrew Garfield probably is the MVP of 2021. Yeah. He went from, Andrew Garfield, he's out there, he hasn't really done much since Spider-Man, like he does like indie films and stuff like that, to now Tick Tick Boom. He did that Tammy Faye, which I didn't care to see. But he had Tick Tick Boom, and then he does this Spider-Man. And I was like, holy crap, is Andrew Garfield back? Because Andrew Garfield's Tom Holland is phenomenal. I'm not trying to say Tom Holland's not fantastic. So Tom Holland gets put through the fucking ringer in this movie, and this is hands down Tom Holland's best performance. But Andrew Garfield was the surprise. I don't think anyone was expecting to get the Andrew Garfield performance that we got out of this film, but we did. I've talked too much, Brian.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail just because we have a whole spoiler review which people can go to, and we can stop tiptoeing around things. But yeah, I mean, this is a movie that I went into with expecting to enjoy but not love. But I thought it was just amazing, no pun intended. I really like this movie from beginning to end. I don't think there's a single part of this movie that I didn't enjoy. I love the way that they did use Maguire and Garfield, because they didn't just come back as Peter Parker, Spider-Man's like we knew them. They both came back with these years of additional life and knowledge. Where Tobey Maguire's was almost more of a father figure, kind of mentor kind of guy. I mean, even though he was dressed as a cool youth pastor, and then Andrew Garfield's was more a guy who, his following the events of his last movie, his apparently gone kind of a dark turn, and kind of he found a way to find himself and redeem himself, and now he comes back and he kind of guide Tom Holland on his same kind of journey. And I just loved the way that it could have very easily been just cameos. Hey, look, guys, the other Spider-Men are here to fight with me. But they didn't. They used him in a very smart way, a very good way.
They could have very easily done the Han Solo in A New Hope, where they just come in and bump, Vader out of the way. Come on, let's blow this stand and go home. Like, they could have just had them swing in,
Yeah.
hop
Yeah.
in and swing out.
Yeah, but not even just the first of all, they were in the movie a lot more than I thought they would be.
Oh yeah.
But also on top of that, just the way they used them, the way the characters had grown since their last movies, I thought it was very smart. And like I said, I don't need to talk a whole lot more because we have a whole review on it. But yeah, I was so pleasantly surprised and relieved that this movie was as good as it was.
And where this movie ended up, where we finished the film at, it yeah, it opens a whole new door for where the trilogy is going to go, and I'm totally for it. And for a lot of people who were worried or who didn't like Tom Holland's Spider-Man for certain reasons, I think by the end of this film, those reasons have been fixed or answered to the point where I think the next Spider-Man film, not that I think that anything could be as anticipated or as excited as this one was outside of Endgame. I think because of what they did with this film and where this film ended and where we're going now is Spider-Man 4 or whatever the hell they're going to call it. I that's going to be the number one movie of the year, hands down, in terms of box office. I mean, hell, this movie's already made it's been out for what, 3 weeks now, and it's already over 1.1 billion.
That not even 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's just like it's not going to hit Endgame numbers, but just yeah, it's ridiculous how much this movie has grown and just the power that it's succeeding. That by the time they're already working on the next movie, so let's put it, they're already working towards it, and there's already people demanding that they come back with Amazing Spider-Man 3 because of Garfield's performance. They're like, we want more, and stuff like that. But I mean, we got more Spider-Man movies to come. Might not be Tom Holland movies for a while because we got Spider-Verse Part 2. We got fucking Morbius and other stuff to come. But yeah, this movie, it was my number one most anticipated. I think this is the first time in a very, very, very long time that my I guess Endgame, but it's MCU, where my most anticipated film ended up being my number one movie of the year. Normally they just don't ever match what I wanted it to be, and No Way Home did it, and they did it so easily. Every choice they made, I thought was brilliantly well done, and I can't wait to go watch it again. I was supposed to go see it today, but we didn't get to. But yeah, I cannot wait to go see this in the theater again. And like, excuse me, like we said, the movie theater experience that this movie had.
Yeah.
First experience I had like that since Endgame. Obviously because of COVID and stuff like that, but the experience that you've had with the audience, it's just magic. So clearly, it's our number one movie of the year. But yes, that is our most surprising and best films of 2021. We hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos pop up on Movie Crusaders. And of course, don't forget to follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. Coming up next, we've got our most anticipated of 2022, where we will be talking about all the movies that Brian and I at least know of or know somewhat about that we are excited to see. Will it be as prosperous as 2021's, where a lot of our top picks were, in the rankings? We'll find out next year at this time.
Will these movies come out this time? We'll find out.
Exactly. Will these movies come out? Because half of our list from, in January still haven't come out yet. We'll see. But we will be back here again very shortly with that video. So be on the lookout for that. Of course, don't forget to watch the most disappointed and worst films of 2021. We hope you guys enjoy these videos. But until next time, in case we don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Movie Crusaders.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.